Chapter 1084. The true body of this new leader of the Norse Empire looked even younger, as if he was only around 25 years old. He was so young that it made one's hair stand on end. In terms of appearance, he could be said to be handsome, but it was not the masculine kind of handsomeness. Instead, it was a feminine kind of handsomeness. It was clearly a slightly young man's face, but he had eyelashes, eyeshadow, and a thick layer of powder on his face. He was actually wearing a white woman's suit. At first glance, he looked like a man, but upon closer inspection, he looked more like a woman. Ding Ming opened his telekinesis vision and could not help but laugh. Previously, I thought that Jiang Qianshun was the plaything of the Night Phoenix witches. It seems that I was wrong. I take back my words. He is not. You are the Night Phoenix slave through and through. Mingzhi raised his eyebrows. Mr. Ting, what do you mean by that? Ding Ming laughed. What's the point of being secretive? You are no longer a man, but you're not a pure woman either. I didn't expect the Night Phoenix warriors to have such perverted preferences. In his psychokinesis vision, this Mingzhi had the body of a man, but at the same time, he also had the body structure of a woman. He must have been carefully selected and modified by the Night Phoenix. Otherwise, his aura of an interstellar martial master wouldn't make sense. Mingzhi was furious. Only General Mo Yin knew this secret, because he was General Mo Yan's personal pet. He did not expect Ding Ming to see through it. Ding Ming, if I let you die quickly, I will let you down. After saying that, he moved forward and floated over like a ghost. Ding Ming did not dare to be careless. He quickly operated the origin and prepared to face the enemy. Mingzhi also seemed to know that this was the interior of the engine and did not dare to use any martial arts techniques to release energy. The slightest carelessness would destroy the engine room. It should be known that under the full power of an interstellar martial master, the entire Cypress planet would be blown to pieces. Therefore, Mingzhi threw a very simple and crude uppercut at Ding Ming's temple. Ding Ming did not retreat. He could not retreat now. If he did, the main control panel behind him would probably turn to ashes. Boom! Ding Ming also threw an uppercut, and the two of them met fist to fist. Because he had controlled the space where the energy gathered, the air was not torn apart. However, Mingzhi was knocked back several steps. He could not help but reveal a surprised expression. You can actually take my punch? Ding Ming smiled. You're still young, but your body has already been hollowed out. Anyone would be able to handle it. This was definitely a provocation. He was betting that Mingzhi was young and had little experience in the martial world. Mingzhi stared at Ding Ming. The database shows that you, Ding Ming, are just a Black Star trooper. I didn't expect you to become so powerful in recent years. Take another punch from me if you dare. After saying that, he leaped high into the air, clenched his fists together, and slammed them down. Just by looking at her posture, one would think that there was nothing special about her, but Ding Ming could feel the powerful aura of the Night Phoenix within her body. Even if 10 Lu Zioians were to receive this punch at the same time, they would be smashed into powder. Ding Ming had already activated his galaxy origin. He waved his hand like a shield, and when the punch landed on the rainbow shield, it was immediately knocked back. Mingzhi flipped in the air and landed again. This time, he could not hide the shock on his face. He had used 80% of his strength in this punch. Ding Ming was still smiling. Do you also cultivate that yin-yang harmony balance? How many times do you have to pleasure under Mo Yan's feet to get this energy? He was deliberately angering the other party. An old monster like Ding Ming had already figured out the other party's situation after 2 exchanges. This Mingzhi was still too young. Although his body contained the energy of an interstellar martial master, which Mo Yin must have injected into him, in reality, Mingzhi was still a noob in terms of martial arts and actual combat. It was like a child holding a gun. If you wanted to deal with an unarmed child, you would naturally be able to kill him instantly. However, if you really encountered an adult expert holding a gun, how could you possibly win? He had a body full of energy, but could not use it effectively or release it perfectly. In terms of actual combat, this Mingzhi was probably not even a match for that General Jiru. Suddenly, Mingzhi rose again. His body flashed with pink light, and he kicked several times in the air. In an instant, the ring was filled with ghostly shadows, dazzling everyone. This kid was actually still using the divine, shadowless kick martial technique. Ding Ming laughed. Flashy, but impractical. Let me teach you how to be a person. As he spoke, he took 2 steps back and formed a bow with his legs. After leaning back, he suddenly exerted force and threw a punch at the countless shadows. Bang! Mingzhi staggered backward again. This time, he staggered back for more than 10 meters before he could steady himself. As soon as he stood still, a muffled bang sound came from his body. His body suddenly bent, and his face was full of pain. Then, he flew up into the sky and finally fell heavily to the ground. Blood flowed from his mouth and nose. Ding Ming's move was actually nothing special. It was just the explosive force in his fist. Strength and energy were secondary. Experience and technique were the essence. Ding, I'll fight you to the death. Mingzhi bounced up like a rabbit and charged over like a cannonball with his head in front and feet behind. Ding Ming sighed. Do you think this will work? He also shot out like lightning. A strong light appeared in his palm as he chopped out with the standard Ding-style hand blade. Bang! The hand blade hit Mingzhi in the middle of his forehead. It was as if he had offered his head to the hand blade. He was courting death. Mingzhi fell to the ground and rolled more than 10 meters away like a dead dog. Finally, he curled up into a ball. However, he was still unwilling to admit defeat and stubbornly stood up. Unfortunately, he only stood up for 3 seconds before he felt his head weigh more than 1,000 pounds. He swayed and then fell down heavily again. Ding Ming turned around and entered several sets of data on the control panel. Then he slowly walked up to Mingzhi, grabbed him by the back of his neck, and lifted him up. What would he want to do? Mingzhi was very weak at the moment and saw stars. Ding Ming smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you. General Moyen was willing to force you to become a martial master. You must be very important to her. I still have a use for you." After that, he didn't care about Mingzhi's reaction and ran towards the east exit with him. At this moment, a huge gap with an area of more than 200,000 square meters appeared on the ground at the north end of Cyprus' ancient planet. A white energy beam shot up into the sky. It had broken through the atmosphere and reached the depths of space. The space-time rift created was like a bottomless giant black hole on the surface of the sea. As the ground trembled violently, a pink behemoth broke out of the ground in the light beam and slowly rose into space. This peach blossom starship was particularly eye-catching. It was like a flower bud formed by many petals wrapped around each other. This was the main starship of Moyen Vanguard. The high power room was wrapped inside it. Ding Ming held Mingzhi hostage and walked all the way up. The cross bridge from before had disappeared and was replaced by the interior of the starship. The interior of this peach blossom starship was no different from a human starship. The only difference was that human starships were made of alloy metals, while the interior of this peach blossom starship was made of a pink crystal wire. It looked particularly charming and beautiful. Ding Ming spread out his telekinesis vision and found that the starship was really frighteningly large. Moreover, there was an extremely wide hemispherical hall in front of him. There were several figures in the hall. Judging from their graceful figures, they should be women. Presumably, the true elites of the Night Luan martial artists were waiting for him in front. At the end of the passage, as Ding Ming approached, the peach blossom door formed by many petals split open automatically, revealing a beehive-like hall. There were almost no facilities in the hall. There was only a throne in the center. Sitting on it was a girl. It was the girl from Starlight University, Jiang Churin. On either side of Jiang Churin, there was a stunning beauty. They had dignified expressions and extraordinary bearings. In front of the throne, there were actually 2 people kneeling on the ground and trembling. Upon closer inspection, Ding Ming was extremely shocked. These 2 people were actually the 5th Lord and Julie. The beauty on Jiang Churin's right was actually wearing a fiery red ancient warrior's armor. Her pure face, pure white skin, and valiant charm were enough to arouse the interest of any man. Ding Ming couldn't help but take a few more glances. On the other hand, the stunning beauty on the left was wearing a windbreaker and light-colored casual pants. Her face was beautiful, and her long hair was draped over her shoulders. From afar, she gave off the feeling of a youthful and fashionable girl. She had the unique temperament of a girl next door. However, these two people's auras were abnormally errant. It was the kind of aura that was faintly discernible. Ding Ming secretly wondered why the Fifth Lord and Julie were kneeling. Not to mention Mo Yin herself. Just her two subordinates were enough to look down on the universe. Jiang Churen was the first to speak. Let me introduce you to my two deputy generals. The beauty on the right immediately cupped her hands. Vermilion Bird. The beauty on the left said coldly, Rufeng. Ding Ming nodded. Nice to meet you, Vermilion Bird said. Since you're able to come here, you have the right to know our names. Ding Ming did not waste any time. Release the First Elder and the Princess. No matter what, the souls of the Fifth Lord and Julie came from the Mao Xing royal family. For the sake of Little Rascal and Little Love, he could not leave them in the lurch. Vermilion Bird said proudly, That depends on whether you're willing to release Little Zhe or not. Ding Ming smiled. Even if I release him, I'm still inside your starship. I can't run even if I want to. Rufeng slowly raised his hand. With the throne as the center, many phantoms suddenly appeared around him. It was the scene outside the starship. Now that the starship had entered the chaotic world in the space-time tunnel, it was speeding forward. Who knew where it was heading? However, Ding Ming had reason to believe that the coordinates given to him by Mr. Cuddle would cause the starship to deviate from its established course. The situation would be advantageous to him sooner or later. Jiang Churen leisurely said, Ding Ming, we're actually not enemies in the truest sense of the word. Even though I know you're the successor of the Heavenly Sovereign King, and that you've killed several of my capable subordinates, I can overlook that. Ding Ming sucked in a deep breath. Just a few short sentences had made him take this General Mo Yin seriously once more. He also understood the hidden meaning behind Mo Yin's words, because the Night Phoenix Empire's ultimate goal was the legendary Divine Temple. As long as they could find the Divine Temple, they were willing to pay any price. Chapter 1085. Facing the high and mighty General Mo Yin, Ding Ming only replied indifferently, We're not enemies, but we can't be friends either. As you know, we come from different worlds. Most humans didn't know that the Night Luan cultivators had invaded the human world. Countless people had died because of this, and countless men had become the playthings of the Night Luan witches. Just based on this point alone, Ding Ming couldn't walk together with General Mo Yin. Mo Yin said, Let Little Zhe go. The elders and the princess are useless to me. Ding Ming pondered for a moment, then tossed Mingzhi to the ground. Mo Yin gently pressed the armrest of the throne, and an invisible force sucked Mingzhi over. Mingzhi lay at her feet like a docile kitten. Pink light dust emerged from his body, and his aura slowly recovered. Ding Ming couldn't help but be a little surprised. General Mo Yin's strength could be said to be a top-notch expert. She had no chance of winning against her, but now that she had come this far, there was no way out. Mo Yin reached out a hand and stroked Mingzhi's head, as if comforting her own child. It's all right. As long as you're back, everything will be fine. Mingzhi was a body she had found with great difficulty in the Empire. After she modified him, he became her boy toy, allowing her to enjoy both the pleasure of a woman and the pleasure of a man. Most importantly, it was easier for her to cultivate after she injected energy into his body. The foundation of the Night Luan cultivators lay in their charm energy. It would only work best when yin and yang alternated. The Vermilion Bird said indifferently, You can leave now. Only then did Fifth Lord and Julie stand up shakily and walk towards Ding Ming, one on the left and one on the right. Ding Ming seemed to be in a daze. He stared at the two of them with interest and muttered, What a pity, what a pity. Perhaps even you didn't expect this to happen one day. Julie stopped. Thank you, Ding Ming. Ding Ming waved his hand. You don't have to thank me, princess, because this time You may really die in my hands, and you will never have the chance to recover." Julie was stunned. "What do you mean?" Ding-Ming turned to look at the fifth lord. "Elder, you've been on the run for half your life, and you've lived for tens of thousands of years. You've finally been reborn. Did you do all this just to be a slave for the Night One?" The fifth lord's expression remained unchanged. "You can tell." Ding-Ming nodded. "Actually, I could tell the moment I came in. The divine light essence in your bodies had already disappeared without a trace and was replaced by a huge amount of Night One energy. From a physical point of view, the Great Elder and the Princess are already dead. You are two brand new Night One warriors." A hint of pain appeared in the fifth lord's eyes, and Julie's expression was also a little dazed. Then, Ding-Ming immediately received a telepathic aura. He had already seen that back in the space-time tunnel, the starship of the 12 constellations didn't escape. It was caught by General M.O. Yan's mothership. The fifth lord and Julie were both prisoners. They only had two choices, either die or submit. Ding-Ming stared at the two. "I don't blame you." He could still understand the elder and the princess. They had worked so hard for tens of thousands of years just to survive. They endured humiliation and hoped that one day they could restore the Mao Xing Empire. Therefore, staying alive was always the most important thing. Therefore, they had no choice but to submit to General M.O. Yan. The fifth lord suddenly smiled bitterly. "I've lived long enough." Julie also said, "Me too." Ding-Ming didn't answer because he could tell from the way the fifth lord and Julie flanked him. They had already become General M.O. Yan's pawns. M.O. Yan wanted them to test his strength. If they couldn't, they would undoubtedly be courting death. As for their own thoughts and feelings, M.O. Yan and the others didn't care. As expected, the vermilion bird behind them coldly said, "Do it." Just as Julie was about to make a move, she was suddenly stopped by Fifth Lord. "Princess, this time, let this old official go first." Julie was a little surprised. "Elder, he's Ding-Ming." In other words, Ding-Ming was both an ally and a martial artist of the divine light. This was tantamount to attacking one of their own. This was a great taboo in the Mao Xing Empire. This was also the most unacceptable betrayal and crime among the Pearl people. The Fifth Lord said indifferently, "I know, but I'm no longer a martial artist of the divine light. Therefore, there's nothing to worry about." He didn't wait for Julie to speak. He took a step forward and pressed down on Ding-Ming. At this moment, he was like a giant bird flying out. His aura and strength completely enveloped Ding-Ming. Ding-Ming had never seen the Fifth Lord in action before. This time, he finally understood how terrifying this great elder of the Mao Xing Empire was. His palms were like giant thunder palms that came crashing down from the sky. The aura, the surge of energy, the secret martial arts manuals, and the technique manuals could not be described with words. If one could describe it, it would be as if a divine weapon had descended from the heavens. An ordinary person would have died just by looking at it. Suddenly, Ding-Ming also stretched out his palms. Bam, bam! His palms collided with the Fifth Lord's. The Fifth Lord was immediately pushed back. However, he flashed in mid-air and returned to attack with his palms again. Bam, bam! Another two muffled sounds were heard. The Fifth Lord flew up into the sky again. Ding-Ming was still attacking with his palms facing the sky. With a boom, the aura around the Fifth Lord's body suddenly surged. He seemed to be very unwilling to give up. He once again flashed back and pressed down with both his palms. He would not stop until Ding-Ming was slapped to death. Whoosh! Ding-Ming's body also ignited with faint green flames. His palms struck towards the sky at a dazzling speed. In an instant, the hall was filled with gusts of wind and afterimages. The two of them were locked in a fierce battle. It was impossible to see their real bodies clearly. After exchanging more than 20 blows, the Fifth Lord flew up again. He did a somersault in the air and staggered back after landing. White blood was already seeping out of the corner of his mouth. "Elder!" Julie was shocked. She hurriedly went to support the Fifth Lord. However, the Fifth Lord laughed like a madman. "Ha ha! As expected, I really can't kill you. It wasn't clear whether he was saying this for Mo Yin or Julie. Ding Ming still didn't reply. His gaze was exceptionally complicated. The fifth lord let go of Julie and said sternly, "Ding Ming, take this." He slowly raised his right palm and pushed it towards Ding Ming at an extremely slow speed. It was almost like a slow-motion movie. However, Ding Ming's expression turned serious. The palm changed halfway through. The fifth lord's palm actually glowed with white light, and a cross-shaped light appeared. This was clearly the characteristic of a singularity. Looking up again, the fifth lord's figure had also changed. He looked like a short and old pearl man. His skin seemed to have withered and faded, but his eyes were exceptionally bright. His gaze was filled with silent gratification and eager anticipation. In this moment of distraction, Ding Ming's palm and the fifth lord's palm collided. However, the fifth lord wasn't sent flying this time. Instead, Ding Ming held him firmly in place. At least, that was what Mo Yin and the others thought. However, Ding Ming was surprised to find that the fifth lord's palm was pouring a huge amount of energy into his body at an astonishing speed. This wasn't an attack, but a deliberate attempt by the fifth lord to transfer all of his energy to Ding Ming. With a whoosh, the fifth lord's entire body turned into a pink humanoid light. Ding Ming understood. He immediately used the diamond star fusing art to guide this energy into the smelting space. The fifth lord was no longer there. Only his voice rang in Ding Ming's ears. "Take good care of Princess Ariel. The future of Mao Xing is in your hands. Ding Ming, don't let us down." Bang. The humanoid light gradually dimmed, finally turning into a puff of smoke and dissipating into nothingness. Ding Ming slowly lowered his hand. He was deeply moved. The fifth lord was actually an advanced martial master, yet he didn't hesitate to sacrifice himself to let Ding Ming absorb all of his energy. This proved one thing. The three demonesses on the other side were clearly stronger than an interstellar martial master. The fifth lord knew that he had no chance of winning, so he might as well sacrifice himself to help Ding Ming. Ding Ming was everyone's last and only hope. Julie clearly understood the fifth lord's actions. She didn't wait for the three of them to react. In fact, she didn't even say a word. She quickly pushed her palm towards Ding Ming. The same cross-shaped star was spinning in her palm. Although she had been injected with the Night Luan's energy, the Mao Xing's martial arts were already ingrained in her bones. She could use them anytime, anywhere. The two of them used the diamond star fusing art at the same time, increasing the efficiency by several times. Julie also turned into a humanoid light, and a huge amount of energy was transferred into Ding Ming's body. As his life force was drained away and his body was destroyed, Ding Ming also saw Julie's spiritual body disappearing bit by bit. She didn't even say a word until her soul was completely destroyed. However, Ding Ming could already sense her will. She wanted to restore their great Mao Xing dynasty no matter what. Ding Ming sensed the two interstellar martial master energies in his body. The smelting space was surging violently, but it would take time to completely convert them. At the very least, it was impossible under the current circumstances. The hall returned to silence. Mo Yin was still sitting on the throne. Vermilion Bird and Ru Feng didn't move either. Mingzhi was still at Mo Yin's feet. The four of them seemed indifferent to what had just happened. Moments later, Mo Yin said indifferently, "I've said it a long time ago. The Mao Xing imperial family will never truly submit to our Night Luan Empire." Ding Ming frowned. "So you saw through it long ago." Mo Yin said, "I know they're deliberately seeking death in order to help you." Ding Ming said, "But you didn't stop them?" Mo Yin said indifferently, "The result is the same whether I stop them or not, because you have no chance of defeating me. If you're willing to become my assistant, I can consider molding you into an even stronger expert." Ding Ming smiled coldly and looked at Mingzhi. "Become an assistant like him?" Mo Yin didn't deny it. "For you, this isn't a loss at all. It's also a win-win situation." Ding Ming said, "What if I refuse?" Mo Yin said, "I know you will refuse, but I can wait until you change your mind." Ding Ming still wanted to say something, but the scene around the throne suddenly changed. Everyone's expression changed as well. Chapter 1086. In the chaotic world of the space-time tunnel, the Flower Bud mothership had been steadily advancing. However, at this moment, the entire starship seemed to have been affected by a powerful energy. The hull of the ship actually trembled slightly. In the surveillance image, an indescribable ancient monster appeared behind the mothership. It looked like a huge, twisted ball of light. The surface of the ball was covered in energy strings, and rings of colorful light spread out. The entire space-time tunnel seemed to be twisting along with it. What kind of power was this? Ding Meng and Mo Yan's eyes lit up at the same time because they recognized what this thing was. This was solitary entropy. As expected, Ding Meng found his watch vibrating, and Sokka's voice rang in his ear. Ding Meng, cartel set coordinates are a huge black hole 1,000,000 light-years in diameter. Once we reach the end, we'll all be annihilated. However, after the course changed, our target is solitary entropy. The human world's light-bending technology can discover solitary entropy and solitary entropy. This is something that can't be helped. Ding Meng suddenly realized that Mr. Cartel was asking for help from solitary entropy. Even though he did not know what solitary entropy was, this was the first time he had seen such a great product of technology. The only thing he could do was ask for help. Mo Yin suddenly looked up and said, "Butler." Sokka's voice immediately rang out in the hall. "It's me." Mo Yin smiled happily. "Where's His Majesty?" Sokka said, "Since you already know, why ask?" Mo Yin nodded slightly. His Majesty has already imparted the mark to Ding Meng. I'm sure Ding Meng knows the location of the Holy Sanctum. Ding Meng smiled bitterly. "If I say that the Holy Sanctum doesn't exist, would you believe me?" Mo Yin said, "If the Queen agrees, then I'll definitely believe you." Unfortunately, although everyone else might believe this, the Queen won't. Ding Meng knew that she would not believe him, but he could not help but ask why. Mo Yin said, "Her Majesty is the monarch's wife. After all, no matter how big a secret a man has, a woman who has slept with him for a long time will more or less know some of it." Ding Meng sighed. "So, it seems that I have to tell you the location of the Holy Sanctum?" Moyen said, "It's naturally for the best that you can take the initiative to say it." Ding Meng said, "Unfortunately, I don't know. You'll find out sooner or later." Moyen slowly lowered her head. "General, Vermilion Bird." Vermilion Bird immediately turned around. "Here," Mo Yin instructed. "It shouldn't be hard to get Ding Meng to tell us his location, right?" The Vermilion Bird bowed and cupped her hands. "I have a small request." Moyen said, "Go ahead." Vermilion Bird said, "After the matter is settled, can I deal with this Ding Meng person?" Moyen said, "According to the rules of our Night Phoenix Empire, the first priority is naturally you. No one else will interfere." In other words, they were already treating Ding Meng as a spoil of war, and a spoil of war similar to Mingzha at that. Faced with such a beautiful woman, anyone else would probably go crazy with joy, but Ding Meng knew the terrifying consequences of being reduced to a plaything. He secretly activated the origin of the star system and channeled AIG's cultivation method, preparing for the most dangerous battle. After receiving the order, Vermilion Bird slowly turned around, a teasing smile appearing on her beautiful face. "Ding Meng, you're a rare genius among the divine light martial artists and the human world. My request isn't too high. I'll be your wife from now on, and I'll serve you well." Hearing this, Ding Meng felt a chill run down his spine and became nervous. Vermilion Bird waved one hand, and a long, shiny, and exquisite crescent blade appeared in her hand. As soon as this blade appeared, Ding Meng immediately felt an oppressive chill rush toward him, and even the air seemed to be frozen. Sokka's voice rang in his ears again. "Ding Meng, be careful. This blade of hers is a star-destroying weapon. Don't take it head-on." The weapons of interstellar martial artists were divided into 3 types: extraordinary, star-destroying, and nirvanic. The extraordinary weapons were still limited to the energy supply of the human world. A typical example was the extraordinary cookery blade that Yao Manru had designed for Ding Ming. Other than the special material, it was filled with special condensed energy. After activation, its power was not inferior to a super railgun. The star-destroying weapons were made from treasures from various star systems. After being refined, they were divine weapons that could tear apart interstellar martial artists. They were not to be underestimated. As for the nirvanic weapons, it depended on one's luck. In any case, it was impossible to create them. Vermilion Bird stood opposite him, holding the crescent blade horizontally with one hand. The gleaming blade light drifted over like water waves. Even Ding Ming felt a chill run down his spine. Suddenly, Vermilion Bird swept forward, raised her hand, and slashed. This was a very simple and pure slash. However, the simpler and purer it was, the more complicated and terrifying it was. This was because Ding Ming knew this principle very well. The louder the sound, the quieter the sound, the formless the elephant. This slash was the most terrifying slash Ding Ming had ever seen in his life. It was clearly a crescent blade, but in his eyes, it was like a flower petal, so gentle and romantic. It was like a mass of chaos, and he wanted to block it, but found that he had no way to do so. It was also like an eagle, swooping down with the force of a thunderbolt. However, it was more like a gentle breeze, unfathomable and traceless. Therefore, in this situation, he could only retreat. Ding Ming's figure flashed, and he had already retreated 30 meters. However, he still felt a chill in his chest. When he looked down, he found that there were several thin wounds on his chest. White blood immediately seeped out. This was obviously caused by the blade aura emitted by the other party's blade. Then, a chill instantly spread throughout his body, chilling him to the bone. The power of this Star Destroyer weapon was evident. Only an expert like Ding Ming would be able to withstand it. If it were someone else, they would probably have been turned into ashes on the spot. With a boom, 5 colored source flames ignited all over Ding Ming's body, and his aura directly rose to the level of an intermediate martial master. Vermilion Bird, who was in the middle of the hall, smiled slightly. This is what an interstellar martial artist should be like. Take another slash from me. After saying that, she leaned forward and swung her hand. The crescent blade was actually thrown out by her, and it whizzed in circles towards Ding Ming. The second slash was even stronger, probably more than a few times stronger. Furthermore, the size of the long sword instantly expanded while it was in the air, completely turning into a pink rod. The rod was at least several hundred meters long, and there was no space for Feng Xingjian to dodge. Ding Ming's gaze turned cold, and several pairs of golden claws appeared out of thin air, grabbing onto the huge rod. This was the edge secret technique of the scorching sun divine technique. Actually, Ding Ming's train of thought was right. When faced with an interstellar martial artist like this, the martial arts techniques of the Federal Empire were too weak. No matter how strong one's cultivation was, they would not be a match for these divine weapons. Even Mao Xing's martial arts techniques would probably not be able to contend against them. Therefore, in order to receive the attack, he would have to use the Sovereign King's martial arts techniques. However, the other party's power was still beyond his imagination. These edge, ghostly claws could not stop her. The huge rod spun a few times and turned back into a gleaming crescent blade. Therefore, the ghostly claw's tentacles were all sliced into pieces by the blade's rotation, and they quickly disappeared. Seeing that the long sword was coming towards his head, Ding Ming gritted his teeth and gathered a large amount of essence in his hands. Then, he immediately clasped his palms together. Bang! With Ding Ming as the center, a shock wave spread out from under his feet. It was the sound of all the air being shaken away, forming a vacuum space. When she looked at Ding Ming again, she saw that he had actually caught the tip of the long sword with both hands. The sharp blade was only a few inches away from his forehead. Suddenly, Ding Ming's heel kicked backward, and his combat boots miraculously blocked the Red Sparrow's palm from behind. The Red Sparrow was also a little surprised. She did not expect Ding Ming to have the strength to deal with the attack from behind. Therefore, She simply grabbed Ding Ming's ankle and swung it upwards. Ding Ming spun 3 times in the air, then swung the long sword back at the Red Sparrow. Interesting. The Red Sparrow smiled. Her entire body glowed with a pink light, and her aura instantly increased. The fiery red armor seemed to have been activated. Countless crimson energy sprayed out and formed a beautiful figure in front of her. When the long sword came down, the figure gently reached out and caught it. The armor retracted the energy, and the long sword spun a few times before returning to the Red Sparrow's hand. Ding Ming landed on the ground and stared coldly at his opponent. The Red Sparrow's aura was already that of a high-level martial master, and was even close to that of a general. General Mo Yan's deputy was truly terrifying. It was no wonder that the Fifth Lord and Julie had no intention of resisting. Judging from the Red Sparrow's expression, she had not yet used her full strength. Do you want to continue? The Red Sparrow looked at Ding Ming like a cat playing with a mouse. You were able to force me to increase my aura. That's already very commendable. I admire you very much. Later on, I can take the initiative to serve you. You don't have to play with me. That way, you can conserve some of your strength. Ding Ming did not reply. He decisively activated the origins of the first 5 galaxies. His entire body became somewhat translucent, and then he tightened his limbs and gathered energy. The Red Sparrow's expression changed. This brat's aura could actually increase a second time. In the distance, Ru Feng revealed an envious expression. I never thought that this brat would also be a high-level martial master. General Red Sparrow is in luck. Ding Ming suddenly stretched out his limbs and raised his arms. His palms spread out in front of him, and a formless arc of plating shot forward. Its cross-section was also several hundred meters long. This was the Overlord's mountain-crushing energy, which was a mixture of divine light essence and telekinesis. When this energy shot out, even the strands of pink material on the ground caved in. Its power could not be said to be weak. Vermilion Bird's expression also became serious. She spread out her hands, and the long saber began to spin rapidly in front of her, forming a pink spherical light pupil. The light pupil also spun rapidly without any pattern. A pink light curtain curled up in front of her, and countless mirror images of peach blossom petals fell from the sky. This was simply a fairyland that had been created out of thin air by her own power. However, experienced people could tell at a glance that Ding Ming's Overlord's mountain-crushing energy was too strong, and the Red Sparrow's response was to use softness to overcome strength. As expected, the Overlord's mountain-crushing energy sank into the pink wall like mud sinking into the sea. It did not cause the slightest ripple. Anything else? The Red Sparrow's lips curled into a smile. If not, then it's my turn. As soon as she finished speaking, she pushed her palms forward. The entire pink wall, along with the sphere of light, crashed toward Ding Ming with an earth-shattering force. It was as if Mount Tai was crashing down on him with unstoppable force. Chapter 1087. Ding Ming waved his arms when he saw the cloud-like energy wall pressing down on him. A rainbow-colored holy light curtain appeared in the center of the hall. The peach blossom wall pressed down, and the two merged and canceled each other out, disappearing in the blink of an eye. However, the light pupil was not affected. It stopped spinning and turned back into a crescent blade, slashing at Ding Ming with murderous intent. Ding Ming let out a clear cry. He did not dodge, and instead slammed into the tip of the blade. Ru Feng's expression changed. Did want to die? Mingzhi, on the other hand, was curled up on the ground, trembling. He knew very well the material of the Night Phoenix starship. The two of them were fighting inside, and the energy waves had been absorbed by the starship, so there was no explosion. If this had happened on planet Cyprus, 5 planets would have been blown to smithereens. Among these people, only Moyen looked calm. She seemed to be comforting Mingzhi. He's fighting so hard because he still has a trump card. The next moment, everyone saw clearly that Ding Ming had used his standard Ding-style handblade. The transparent figure in the air flew forward like a swallow, and the figure seemed to be distorted. However, at that moment, the figure's aura exploded again. Ru Feng cried out, "He's actually a galactic general." Yes, Ding Ming had activated 10 galactic origins and pushed them to the limit. At this moment, the Ding-style handblade was not as simple as a handblade. It was an energy composite that gathered the essence of divine light, true essence-colored crystal, and electromagnetic telekinesis. It was also Ding Ming's great belief that he would never back down. The long blade came again. Ding Ming did not hesitate to raise his hand and slash. With a clang, the blade was hit by the handblade. The tip of the blade suddenly tilted, and the entire blade brushed past Ding Ming's shoulder. This scene also caused Vermilion Bird to stare blankly. She had not yet recovered from her shock when Ding Ming's backhand blade finally arrived. Boom! This was the muffled sound of Vermilion Bird's hand chopping down on her shoulder. Vermilion Bird clenched her fists. Her whole body seemed to be resisting this energy, but her body was very honest. Her whole body began to slide backwards, and along the way, the ground emitted a puff of white smoke. She retreated 400 to 500 meters until she was 20 meters in front of Moyen. Then, something unbelievable happened. Vermilion Bird's ancient armor began to melt, and it also dissipated in the form of white smoke. This time, even Moyen had a look of admiration. This Ding Ming is not bad. She was not admiring Ding Ming's strength as a junior general, but Ding Ming's actual combat experience and improvisation. Through the previous few exchanges, Ding Ming had already analyzed Vermilion Bird General's characteristics. Vermilion Bird's strength lay in her long blade and armor, and the power she used seemed to be more of an ice element. In fact, at the level of interstellar experts, many types of energy were interconnected and could even be interchanged. However, at the beginning of a martial artist cultivation, there would always be a type of energy that they were better at using. To put it bluntly, Vermilion Bird General was an ice element martial artist. Therefore, to deal with the ice element, the heat element was naturally the best choice. It just so happened that the heat element was Ding Ming's forte. Therefore, even though the two hand chops seemed to be a combination, they actually contained a temperature of over 1,000,000 degrees. It was equivalent to throwing out a scorching sundae. I don't care if you're a transcendent planet destroyer. I don't care if you're a natural treasure. Everything will melt in the face of absolute heat. I'm just that simple and crude. Ding Ming's attack this time had undoubtedly broken through the Vermilion Bird's defense. At this moment, the Vermilion Bird's armor had melted, revealing a jade body that was only partially covered in armor. This was a flawless body that was spotlessly white, smooth, and soft. The key areas were faintly discernible, and it was simply enough to cause any man's hormones to soar. However, in Ding Ming's eyes, this was the body of a death god. Why did women have such a mysterious connection with death? Vermilion Bird's gaze turned cold, and finally, a fierce glint appeared in her eyes. Good boy, you actually forced me to use my full strength. You're the first. I'll let you experience the true power of the Night Lawn. She suddenly turned into a pink cloud of dust that quickly enveloped Ding Ming. From afar, the dust looked like a ribbon with a unique life, instantly surrounding Ding Ming. Heavenly Book body? Ding Ming frowned. This was a pure abandonment of the physical body and a spiritual attack. However, this Vermilion Bird's Heavenly Book body was simply too powerful. Its aura had actually swelled to the level of a mid-level martial general. This wasn't something he could deal with. Ding Ming stretched out his limbs again, and the origin flames on his body turned invisible. In truth, this was the highest level of transparency. Powerful waves of energy once again spread throughout the hall. Mo Yin said indifferently, "Is this the bright spirit of the ardent sun divine art? This won't last long." She wasn't mistaken. This was indeed a bright spirit's secret energy gathering technique. It could only increase one's energy for a short period of time. However, the Vermilion Bird that had turned into dust was like a viper that slithered into Ding Ming's mouth. Her spiritual body had already invaded Ding Ming's body. "You want to take over my body?" Ding Ming laughed coldly. Then he roared, "Get out!" His entire body shook violently. Countless strands of pink dust slithered out from all over his body. They gathered in midair and reformed into the vermilion bird's original form. The vermilion bird was completely shocked. This kid's willpower was unwavering. No wonder his soul was so powerful. Die! Ding Meng clasped his hands together, then quickly pushed them out. A straight beam of divine light shot straight towards the vermilion bird's chest. This was Ding Meng's full-powered attack. This was also a powerful essence that could tear apart the starry skies and destroy planets. He had pushed it out without holding back. No one could underestimate this attack, and no one could even think of dodging it. The vermilion bird's eyes narrowed. Her palms formed a heart shape and pushed out as well. She was naturally releasing the unique pink energy of the Night Phoenix Empire. However, within this tidal wave of energy was a visible peach blossom petal essence. It seemed that she was also doing her best to counterattack. Bang! The moment the two energies came into contact, there was a burning sound. The ground caved in, the walls deformed, and the ceiling actually melted slightly. The intensity of the energy waves was rarely seen in this world. Not good. Ru Feng cried out in alarm. This was because she could already see that Ding Meng's energy was far superior to the vermilion bird's. Although the beam of divine light seemed to be blocked by the peach blossom essence, in reality, the two energies were gradually changing shape. The peach blossom essence seemed to be twisting into the surface of an umbrella, while the beam of divine light was blocked by the peach blossom essence because it had gathered too much energy. Slowly, it converged into an even larger arc, like a huge wave crashing against a small umbrella. If this stalemate continued, the Vermilion Bird General would undoubtedly lose. In a battle of this level, losing meant death. Death meant destruction, and destruction meant complete obliteration. You want to kill me? The Vermilion Bird's willowy eyebrows shot up. Unless you don't want to live anymore. With a single thought, the crescent blade that had fallen to the ground in the distance automatically flew up and slashed towards Ding Meng with the force of a thunderbolt. The two of them were now fully focused on each other. They were evenly matched and had no time to spare for anything else. If Ding Meng didn't want to die, he'd best withdraw his attack. As the crescent blade flew closer and closer, Ding Meng's eyes suddenly focused, and a huge electric wall appeared in midair. You dare to show off such a low-level psychic ability? The Vermilion Bird sneered. It was as if the crescent blade was being manipulated by an invisible hand. With a few swings in the air, the electric wall in the void was cut into pieces. Moreover, the momentum of the crescent blade increased, and it slashed downwards with a fierce blade aura. Ding Meng took a deep breath, loosened his left hand, and blocked the attack. With a crack, Ding Meng's entire left arm was cut off at the shoulder. Moreover, before the arm fell to the ground, it turned into a puff of pink smoke. The problem was that even though Ding Meng's arm had been cut off, the tidal wave of divine light was still erupting, and he was already less than 20 meters away from the Vermilion Bird. The Vermilion Bird was terrified. This bastard could actually control all the energy with a single hand. Let's see how long you can last. The Vermilion Bird also shouted. The crescent blade flew a circle in the air and then slashed towards Ding Meng's head. Crack! TCH! Ding Meng's remaining right arm was also cut off, and without any suspense, it turned into a puff of pink smoke. However, the boundless sea of divine light was still closing in little by little. 15 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters. Why? The Vermilion Bird's smile froze, and her pupils contracted completely. This was the last thing she saw. Although Ding Meng had lost both his arms, he opened his mouth wide, and an even more ferocious stream of energy gushed out from his mouth. It was endless, unending, magnificent, and unstoppable. At this moment, the Vermilion Bird had no time to use her blade. All she saw was pure white, and the outside world had completely disappeared. No, this is impossible. That was impossible. Ah! A shrill scream rang out from within the white light. Within the waves, countless images of humanoid monsters rose, transformed, and tumbled, like the howls and struggles of the densely packed souls of the underworld. This capable deputy general under Mo Yan's command was actually blown away by the divine light shockwave, and not a single trace of him was left behind. There was nothing wrong with Vermilion Bird's response. This was a typical strategy of besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. However, her mistake was that she shouldn't have underestimated Ding Meng's determination to bravely move forward and her courage to face death with equanimity. When a true expert fought to the end, what they competed in was no longer strength, but talent, glory, and faith. These were noble qualities that the Night Luan martial artist didn't possess, and they were also the unique values that human martial artists possessed. Just like Xiao AI's evaluation of Ding Meng, when a human's values prevailed, they would disregard their own safety. They would do everything they could to achieve a goal, even sacrificing themselves. Sometimes this sort of trait would cause an unsalvageable disaster, but sometimes it would also create an indescribable miracle. Back when he was forging the origin in the space of consciousness, that heroic declaration was Ding Meng's belief. Fight for the birth of the earth. Ionia, never to be extinguished. With a thump, Ding Meng fell to his knees. In the end, he collapsed from exhaustion, his body extremely weak. Now that both his arms were crippled, regenerating them not only required energy, but also time. However, the current situation did not allow him to stop and recover. This was because he could already see that the windswept general finally moved, walking to the front of the throne. From her stern expression, it was clear that she was about to make her move. Ding Meng frowned. He was not naive enough to believe that the windswept general was weaker than the Vermilion Bird general. Even if she was weaker, he was still no match for her. What awaited him was the destruction of his soul. Chapter 1088. In the main hall of the mothership, Rufeng was about to take a step forward when Mo Yin stopped him with a look. Rufeng turned around in confusion. General, Mo Yin slowly raised her head and said from afar, "Butler." Sokka's was silent for a long time before replying. "Please speak." Mo Yin said, "Right now, it's up to you to decide Ding Meng's fate. If you insist on ignoring or giving up on this emperor's successor, I don't mind General Rufeng turning him into your personal pet and letting him live in pain for the rest of his life." Sokka's did not reply. Instead, a crisp female voice replied, "Have you asked for my permission?" A fan-shaped red light suddenly descended from above the hall. A figure flashed within the red light. Clearly, someone had been teleported over. A black cloak, a valiant face, an exquisite figure, and a short, sharp scimitar. The person who had teleported over was actually someone who had not appeared in a long time. Junling. Junling immediately helped Ding Meng up. "Boss, I'm here." Ding Meng looked at her with a complicated gaze, then at the other side. Only now did he understand why Mo Yin had spoken to Sokka's in such a manner. Right now, the two motherships were very close to each other. If Sokka's abandoned him, he would die without a doubt. However, if he wanted to rescue him, Solitary Entropy would have to establish a true teleportation link with the mothership. Mo Yin must have left the mothership completely undefended from the start, so that Solitary Entropy would take the initiative to contact her. That was why Sokka's voice could only be heard by Ding Meng. However, once the teleportation link was established, Solitary Entropy would not be able to escape so easily. Mo Yin might even use this link to teleport herself to Solitary Entropy. That was her true plan. Of course, Junling's little sister was not Solitary Entropy's butler. She was a person of flesh, blood, and emotions. There was no way she would watch her big brother die. Junling looked at Ding Meng with her bright eyes, but Ding Meng could not see through her. This was because Junling's aura was already at a level that he could not estimate. She must have achieved great success in her cultivation of Solitary Entropy over the years. Sure enough, Junling was full of confidence. "Boss, you go up first. Leave this to me." Ding Meng nodded, but he was still a little worried. "Little sister, don't underestimate the enemy." One vermilion bird is already so difficult to deal with, and now there are two left. This meant that Rufone was definitely stronger than Vermilion Bird, and General Moyen was probably stronger than Rufone. Jun Ling stared at him. Boss, do you remember what I said to you when we first met? Ding Meng, of course, remembered what Jun Ling had said to him back at the Research Institute in Planet McGrady's Health Town. Come with us. Since you're here, you're one of us. Ding Meng nodded silently. He understood that Jun Ling had taken such a huge risk to teleport down here in order to live and die together with him. Only he could deeply feel the kinship between them. Jun Ling said seriously, Boss, you go first. I'll come after I'm done with them. Although she said that, she kept the second half of her sentence in her heart. That was, she had no intention of returning alive after teleporting down this time, because she knew very well that in the big picture, Ding Meng was needed more than her, Jun Ling. The fan-shaped red light quickly retracted, and Ding Meng's figure disappeared from the mothership's main hall. Jun Ling slowly turned around, her cloak fluttering in the wind. She truly looked like a monarch descending upon the world, majestic and awe-inspiring. She had the heroic spirit of a person who would face millions of enemies head-on. There was also no hesitation or fear on her face. There was only an irreplaceable determination. Even Moyen was attracted by her elegance. I never thought that there would be such a talented woman in the human world. How about coming to my Night Phoenix Empire? Not to mention enjoying all the beauties in the world, but you could traverse billions of galaxies and become the overlord of a region. Shut up. Jun Ling cut her off. You witch leader, how many people have you harmed in our human world? I've always kept myself clean and focused on the Tao. I definitely won't be in cahoots with shameless things like you. Moyen laughed disdainfully. You have no idea what kind of existence you're talking to. Since you don't know what's good for you, General Rufone. Rufone immediately bowed. Here, Moyen said proudly. Play with her. Now that I've read Solitary Entropy's data, we have plenty of time to go up. Let's see what else the Monarch's butler can rely on after we kill this guardian of Solitary Entropy. Rufone accepted the order and slowly turned around, quietly looking at Jun Ling. At the same time, Ding Meng had been teleported back by Sokka's in Solitary Entropy's main hall. Following Sokka's instructions, Ding Meng slowly sat on the monarch's throne. In the past, he would pass out just by looking at the throne, but now he could sit on it with ease. It was only when he sat on the throne in person and a sea of information flooded into his brain that Ding Meng realized that the throne was Solitary Entropy's mainframe system. Once a person sat on it, they would become one with Solitary Entropy. The person was the ship, and the ship was the person. It was just like the main control panel of a human starship. There was no need for any instructions. As long as one's mind was directed, Solitary Entropy would act according to the will of the monarch. Sitting on the throne, Ding Meng's arms miraculously regenerated. Moreover, the energy inside Solitary Entropy flowed into his body endlessly, healing his injuries. Ding Meng could even see the situation on the Peach Blossom mothership without the need for something like a light screen. Sokka's was cold and expressionless, but the words it said were quite shocking. She insisted on going down to save you. I'm afraid she won't be able to come back this time. Take a good look at her and remember her face. This is a companion who is willing to shed blood for you. Ding Meng was shocked when he heard this. He immediately mobilized his mind, and the scene in front of him quickly changed to the situation inside the mothership's main hall. In the center of the hall that looked like a pink palace, Jun Ling stood proudly with her blade. Which, Junior Leopard and the others were killed, right? Rufone was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, Those wild boys from the God War Starfield, were they your companions? Jun Ling gritted her teeth and said, Yes. Rufone smiled. That boy refused to obey me. Naturally, there was no use in keeping him. Jun Ling took a step forward. Then today, I will avenge this blood feud for my family. Rufone looked her up and down. I hope you're stronger than that, Ding Meng. Otherwise, it'll be very boring. Jun Ling raised her left hand, and the kukri blade spun in circles in her palm. The The blade actually faintly glowed with a blue light. Ru Feng was a little surprised. This little girl actually had a star-destroying weapon. It seemed that she had obtained it on solitary entropy. Junling stared at Ru Feng. "Since you're so arrogant, then let me test your depths." After saying this, her cloak spread out, and Junling swept out like an eagle. Like an eagle spreading its wings, she swooped down from the sky. There was nothing special about her move, but her aura was very intimidating. This was because Eagle Soars the Sky was a move that used the strong to fight the weak. In other words, she didn't take Ru Feng seriously. Ru Feng originally had some contempt, but as Junling swept closer, her face sank. Junling's aura was only that of an advanced martial master, but the kukri blade she raised had an unknown fluctuation. It seemed to be a sharp blade aura, as if it had the energy of a warlord, but also as if it only had the weak fluctuation of a star warrior. It was hard to tell if it was real or fake. This was definitely a trap. Ru Feng didn't dare to underestimate it. "Give me your life," Junling shouted and slashed with the blade in one hand. Clang! It was a strong sound. Ru Feng's body was wrapped in an exquisite crown shield. This was Mao Xing's Diamond Star secret art. She was smart. She saw that Junling was also a divine light martial artist, so she followed his path. The kukri blade struck the shield without any suspense. Then there was a ding sound. The tip of the blade was blocked, and a white spot appeared on the surface of the shield. Ru Feng sneered. "You want to take my life with this?" Junling's eyes were bright. With a twist of his wrist, Ru Feng's smile disappeared. The white spot quickly split into countless spiderweb-like cracks, tearing all the profound and complicated runes on the shield clean. With a bang, the shield turned into dust. The fake shield can go to hell. Junling slashed out with his blade again. The distance was too close. Ru Feng was shocked and caught the blade with her palms. Just like how Ding Ming caught Zhu Kei's long blade, her palms caught the blade. Boom! There was an explosion. The air was torn apart again, creating a vacuum force field. Both of them were shaken back. Ru Feng quickly steadied herself. She reached out and touched her beautiful face. There was already a fine, straight wound on her face. First, there was a burning pain, then there was a bone-piercing cold. The worst thing was that she couldn't heal it even after using her energy. Ru Feng was a little surprised. Was this girl a true all-rounder? Junling retreated more than 40 meters and looked at her coldly. "You're just SOSO," Ru Feng sneered. Shameless boasting. After she finished speaking, she flew up. Her body spat out a large amount of pink night Yuan energy. The fluctuations caused the entire hall to distort. Her aura suddenly rose to the level of an intermediate warlord. She raised her slender hands high in the air and pushed down several palms at a dazzling speed. Dozens of flower petal mirror images shot out like lightning, like a group of falling stars. These flower petal mirror images didn't just shoot out simple attacks. They flew halfway and quickly merged. In the blink of an eye, they transformed into a faintly discernible, beautiful figure. It was like a peerless beauty standing in the rain of flowers. Her charm was fascinating, and her charm was moving. But just as you were stunned by her beauty, she would take your life. This was the Night Luan Empire's famous queen's classic skill, peerless elegance. It was the same as the king's skill, fierce sun divine art. Simply put, it was another combination of sharp blade, thunderstorm, bright spirit, and strong flash. It had the effect of increasing speed, gathering energy, and covering. This queen's mirror image was also ridiculously large. In any case, it was the type where you couldn't dodge even if you wanted to. Junling didn't panic. She took off her black cloak and swung it. The cloak was like a steel plate as it rapidly spun into the air. It also changed halfway. With a hua sound, it transformed into a flying dragon flashing with black and white colors. It was the typical demon skill, Black Dragon Wave. Ru Feng was both amused and surprised. He was amused because the other party dared to use a low-level skill of the demons. However, he was surprised because this Black Dragon Wave not only had the same amount of energy as the queen's beautiful figure, It was also mixed with god light essence and demon's essence. How did this girl know all kinds of moves? She even modified the skill so that it could be used by both races. Chapter 1089. Junling's improved Black Dragon Wave, or more accurately, it should be called Divine Dragon Wave. As soon as the dragon rose, it quickly became a golden cloud with the queen's figure. In between, there were bursts of electric light and all kinds of strange mirror images. It was obvious that the two groups of energy were competing. However, Rufeng found that Junling had disappeared from the ground. Above her head, another powerful aura surged. She looked up and saw that Junling had actually flown directly above her. Another eagle soared into the sky, and another blade slashed furiously. It was almost the same action, the same move, again attacking. At this moment, Rufeng no longer had any contempt in her heart. Because the source flame on Junling's body spread out, she also had the powerful aura of a mid-level martial general. It was not below her at all, and this blade came so suddenly, just like a ball of twisted demonic light floating over. That was only the blade light and not the person. Rufeng did not dare to take it head-on. She quickly fell to the ground. As soon as she landed, the blade light followed. With a pa sound, it struck the ground. Then there was a boom. The floor made of crystal wire was cut open and a big hole was created. Junling knelt on one knee. The tip of her blade sunk into the floor. Her posture was unusually elegant. However, the ground was lifted like a soft quilt. Wave after wave of aftershocks swept towards Rufeng, who had dodged to the distance. This was the residual energy of an interstellar powerhouse. If you took it head-on, you would inevitably be at a disadvantage. Rufeng had no choice but to fly into the sky again. Her clothes fluttered, and she was like an immortal. The battle between the two women was completely different from Ding Meng's. Ding Meng's battle was extremely masculine. Junling and Rufeng's battle was fierce, and the other was elegant. Of course, the Iron Woman's fighting style had always been simple and crude. Seeing that Rufeng was still dodging, Junling flew out diagonally and slashed out fiercely again. To be honest, her posture was no different from a butcher cutting meat and bones. It was a bit ugly for a woman to do it, but it was direct and effective. Moreover, it was murderous. Seeing that Junling was coming again, Rufeng could not help but say, "Why do you only know this move?" What answered her was a fierce voice. "I'll chop you to death." Swoosh, the saber light swept past, and a vacuum crack was visible to the naked eye. Rufeng's real body turned into powder light and teleported away. Junling turned around and saw that the other party had actually flashed into the large pit that he had just created. Junling took a deep breath and shook his head gently. "There's nothing I can't kill." As soon as she finished speaking, her human figure flashed, and she instantly teleported to the edge of the pit. She raised her hand and slashed again. The cookery knife had the effect of a butcher's knife. This was probably something that neither Ding Meng nor Mo Yin had expected. General Windswept was being chased by Junling. No matter how General Windswept dodged, or teleported, Junling's saber light would appear right in front of him in the next second. He had to either receive it or dodge it. It was a never-ending demonic saber. At this moment, the hall finally had a normal battle situation. There were vibrations and explosions everywhere. The saber flashed, and the saber chi was everywhere. Ding Meng was secretly impressed. How much hard work did his little sister have to go through to be able to practice the cookery saber to such an unfathomable level? Rufeng was also secretly complaining about being chased. She had originally hoped that Junling would be a bit stronger than Ding Meng, but this wasn't just a bit stronger. He was at least 2 or 3 levels stronger. After another round of dodging, Rufeng was forced into the northwest corner of the hall. She could continue dodging, but this was not a solution. Looking up at the saber light descending from the sky, Rufeng formed a heart shape with her palms. She pushed the origin in her body to the limit. Her entire body shook violently, and the energy flames on her body erupted. This was no longer a transparent state. Her aura fluctuations were visible to the naked eye, and countless pink threads spread out in all directions. It was like an ordinary peach tree growing, sprouting, and bearing fruit in an instant. Not only was it beautiful, but the brilliance of its bloom completely covered all other colors in the world. This was the strength of a martial lord, and also Ru Feng's true trump card. Witness true power. Ru Feng no longer dodged. She raised her head and sneered at the saber light in the sky. There was no need to fear this ball of demonic light now, because the aura of a martial lord could directly annihilate Junling. As expected, the saber light in the sky immediately dimmed, slowly fading like a nebula. It was as if a resplendent galaxy was being annihilated. In the vast universe, the vicissitudes of time, the destruction of galaxies was all too common. Only true power was eternal. In this aura fluctuation that was like a tsunami soaring into the sky, like a volcanic eruption, a cold and emotionless voice suddenly sounded. If I want to chop you to death, then I will definitely chop you to death. This voice was like a thunderbolt. Ru Feng was instantly scared silly because Junling's true body somehow passed through her aura suppression and directly appeared in front of her. They were less than a meter apart. She could even smell the killing, barbaric, and violent aura on the girl's body. It was also at this moment that Junling's entire body turned into a formless, transparent state. Swish, the saber light flashed, and the saber fell. One slash in the truest sense. Without the slightest bit of sloppiness, without any unnecessary redundancy. This slash was simple, direct, pure, violent, and savage. This slash cut Ru Feng into two on the spot. She didn't even have time to react. When she reacted, she saw her lower body fall to the ground. Her pair of jade legs that could topple all living things had now turned into broken limbs and remains. She looked at Junling in astonishment. She finally understood what was going on. Junling broke through her aura suppression and swooped down. That was because Junling's physical body had already been tempered thousands of times. He simply didn't fear her martial lord energy. And the instant Junling waved his saber, he turned into a transparent stream of air. This was the legendary mid-level martial lord. That was a realm she couldn't reach, but it was also a level that was enough to crush her. Originally, she thought she was just playing with him, but she didn't expect him to be playing with her from the start. Moreover, he kept chasing her to hit her, to chop her, as if he was chasing a little chick. Ru Feng suddenly felt that she was very laughable. After transforming into a martial lord, she didn't even have time to use a single one of her many ultimate moves. Just like that, she was crushed by him. Was this the legendary dying with hatred? Her last thought stopped there, because straight women of steel were always known for their coldness. Junling raised his hand and quickly danced. In the air, saber light whooshed up like snowflakes. Ru Feng's two halves were cut into countless pieces of flesh. The pieces of flesh floated in the air. Junling's right hand struck out, and a pure white torrent surged out. The pieces of flesh were immediately annihilated within, not even giving them a chance to struggle or howl. The hall returned to normal once more. It was terrifyingly quiet. Junling slowly turned around. Strictly speaking, she was currently just an invisible human-shaped air. However, she held her saber in a reverse grip and stood proudly. This style was truly disdainful of everyone present. This was a true expert who could shatter the galaxy with a single strike. She's dead, Junling said indifferently. On the throne, Mo Yin didn't even move. I saw it all. Junling was a bit curious. Your two generals were killed by us. Don't you think it's a pity? Mo Yin replied indifferently. One of them was careless and underestimated the enemy, while the other wasn't as skilled. It's only natural that they were killed. Junling suddenly felt a wave of pressure. This Mo Yin had been too calm from start to finish, and Junling couldn't see through her. Mo Yin sighed. Since you asked, I do think it's a pity. Jun Ling stared at her intently. What's a pity? Mo Yin sighed. I cherish talents and can't bear to see young talents die an unnatural death. You're so young and outstanding, and your future is limitless. You alone defeated General Vermilion Bird and General Rufone. Why don't you take their place as my #1 general? Your future is promising, and your stars will shine in the world. Jun Ling sneered. In the end, you just want me to wallow in the mire with you. And Mo Yin said seriously, do you think I'm trying to bewitch you? Jun Ling stopped smiling. I can see that you're sincere, but regretfully, I despise your Night Phoenix's cultivation method. We human women don't deign to do such immoral things. After all, I'm a human, not a beast. Do you understand? And Mo Yin let out a long sigh. That's all I have to say. I can only give up. Come, attack me. If you can force me to stand up from this seat, I'll let you go. Perhaps there will be a chance for us to meet again, Jun Ling sneered. You're too arrogant. Mo Yin ignored him and continued. But if you can't force me to rise, then I'm sorry, but there's no way I can keep a foreign race like you alive. You'll die so miserably that your companions will feel heartache. Jun Ling shook his head and sighed. No one can sit still under my attacks. You're no exception. Mo Yin sighed. I'll say it again. You have no idea what kind of existence you're talking to. Jun Ling focused his mind and silently stepped forward. Suddenly, he flew up and used Sword Stream again. The shining blade light was like a shooting star falling from the sky, and the sonic boom was like the cry of a demon. The fierceness and ferocity of this blade was not below the one that had killed Rufone just now. Suddenly, there was a crisp ding. All sound came to an abrupt end, and all auras disappeared without a trace. The blade was frozen in the air less than half a meter away from Mo Yan's face. It was firmly fixed, unable to move at all. Ding Ming looked at this scene in shock. Mo Yan didn't move at all. She only used 2 fingers to clamp down on the blade. Little sister, run, run. Ding Ming's heart wavered for the first time. What kind of terrifying existence was this? Salas sighed. We can't activate hyperspace transmission again. She already read part of the data the first time. If we send Jun Ling back again, Mo Yin will be sent back as well. Ding Ming clenched his fists tightly. He didn't think that the Night Yuan martial artist would be so strong. A Vermilion Bird was able to chop off his arms. A Rufone seemed to be easily killed, but that was because Jun Ling was strong. However, such a powerful Jun Ling couldn't even shake General Mo Yin in the slightest. This feeling was just like when he witnessed brother Zheng Ming's tragic death. He could only watch helplessly. Chapter 1090. While Ding Ming was shocked, how could Jun Ling not be shocked as well? Her attack had been frozen by Mo Yan's 2 fingers. However, she felt that the power Mo Yin displayed was as vast and boundless as the ocean, boundless and unfathomable. Mo Yin smiled. I'll return it to you. She gently let go, and Jun Ling immediately pulled out her blade and retreated a few steps. She stared at the other party, unable to believe everything in front of her. In the end, this was her confidence being shaken. Mo Yin said, in terms of strength alone, you're far inferior to me, but I cherish talents. I can let you try again. You said it. Jun Ling twisted her wrist, and the cookery blade began to spin. This time, she pushed all the origin points to the limit. Multiple types of energy blended together and gathered on the blade. The short blade actually emitted a 7-colored light, then slowly disappeared and became translucent. Mo Yin was a little moved. To be able to train the short blade to this level, even most Night Yuan experts can't compare to you. Give me your life. Jun Ling roared and bounced out. This blade could no longer be described with any words, because Jun Ling and the blade became one. A peerless beauty flashed in the air. This was the strongest move of Ling Xian's blade technique she used as a mid-level martial lord, mysterious lady of the 9 heavens. The gleaming saber light was like a faint ripple of water. When the water rippled, who could see its trajectory clearly? This blade was also simple, direct, and pure, because it already included all the changes and essence of the blade technique. It truly reached the realm where the person was the blade, and the blade was the person. There was another crisp ding. This time, Imogen didn't use her fingers to hold the blade. Instead, she allowed the heaven-flying immortal's blade to strike the center of her forehead. Silence. Deathly silence. Perhaps even death was more suffocating than this moment. Junling felt all the blood in her body freeze, because she saw very clearly that the blade she used all her strength to strike the other party's head didn't even leave a trace of skin. Mo Yin was using Jiang Chern's appearance, with bangs on her forehead. The Star Destroyer weapon couldn't even cut off a single strand of her hair. This person's physical strength was completely beyond Junling's imagination. At this moment, Mo Yan's figure began to transform from the top down. In just a few seconds, she had taken on the appearance of another person. She was also a peerless beauty. Her oval face was also valiant and dignified. She wore a pink crown and a retro white robe that covered her body. Now, it seemed that she was the high and mighty vanguard general under Queen Mo Yin. The knife was still on her forehead, but she was not hurt at all. Ding Ming seemed to have realized something. This is her true form. Could she be an interstellar martial sage? Sokka said, yes. When they invaded back then, I didn't tell you. Ding Ming understood what he meant. Sokka didn't deliberately hide it, but he didn't tell them to protect himself. 5 years ago, he was only an interstellar martial venerable. A martial venerable wanting to challenge martial masters, martial lords, and martial sages was like an ant trying to shake a tree. Even a martial lord like Junling couldn't shake the posture of a martial sage. Mo Yin looked at Junling indifferently. Now you know what kind of existence you're talking to, right? Of course, Junling knew that there was an insurmountable chasm between him and the other party. This wasn't something that could be surpassed by diligent cultivation. It required too many conditions. Martial skill manuals, heavenly treasures, energy treasures, lucky coincidences. Not a single one of these elements could be missing. At this moment, Mo Yan's entire body glowed with a golden light, like the sun emitting countless rays of sunlight. It could be seen clearly with the naked eye. It could be said that this sunlight was thousands of times stronger. Mahavarakana, sunlight shining everywhere. Who would hide? Who could resist? Junling was shaken to the point of being pushed back. The golden sunlight was like a wave crashing into her. Soon, Junling's clothes were torn, her skin began to melt, her hair began to burn, and her facial features began to distort. This situation was like a person walking into the largest and hottest sun in the universe. The super high temperature began to dismember your body. Ding Ming's eyes immediately turned red. Junling's body disintegrated at an extremely fast speed, turning into dust bit by bit and being carried away by the rays. However, the girl of steel refused to admit defeat. She was clearly kneeling on the ground, but she struggled to stand up with all her might. Of course, when she really stood up, her entire body was left with only her head and skeleton. In the end, her face was merged into the storm. From then on, Junling no longer existed in this world. Ding Ming closed his eyes in pain. Junling died for him. This affection would be forever engraved in his heart. Little sister, I won't let your death be in vain. I will definitely avenge you. Ding Ming silently swore in his heart. If there's a next life, we will definitely meet again. As Mo Yin retracted her aura, the main hall of the mothership regained its tranquility. Only the azure cookery blade remained stuck into the ground, its bright glint seeming to silently speak of its master's unyielding will, as well as his heroic heart. At this moment, the two ships were still flying through the space-time tunnel. Sokka said, "When you were still on Cyprus Ancient, I already sent your two friends here. They will be your most important assistants. In the future, they will be your capital to suppress the Night Lawn cultivators." Ding Ming's mind moved. He immediately saw Ling Xingqi and Ji Qinxue lying in their respective sleeping cabins. The power of solitary entropy was also being injected into them. However, the problem now was that the Peach Blossom mothership was following closely behind. He couldn't shake it off even if he wanted to. If Emoyan caught up, he would definitely die. Solitary entropy cannot fall into the hands of the Night Luan Empire, Sakaz said resolutely. Dingming also nodded. This was the treasure of the monarch. The consequences of falling into the hands of the Night Luan people would be dire. Sakaz continued. The warp light engine has actually detected an abnormal black hole, and the end of this space-time tunnel is that black hole. Right now, we have two options. The first is to circle around Mo Yin and maintain our distance from her. It will be very difficult for her to catch up to us, but it will also be impossible for us to shake her off. Ding Ming's expression was solemn. But she has discovered solitary entropy. Queen Ming Yin and the others from the Six Weaves will also rush over. We can't afford to waste time. Sakaz said, the second option is to fly into the black hole. Ding Ming said in surprise, wouldn't flying into the black hole be suicide? Sakaz shook his head. No, I don't think so. Ding Ming said, do you have any good suggestions? Sakaz was silent. As if he had made a great decision, he said, the top experts of the Six Weaves all exist in the four-dimensional space. To a certain extent, they can control the cycle of time, so their lifespans are often very long. The universe is vast and infinite. Why hasn't Ming Yin and the others found the legendary Holy Palace after millions of years? Ding Ming seemed to have understood something. I once heard Little Rascal explain that if everyone wants to enter the three-dimensional world, their strength will be greatly reduced. They have to abide by the laws of the three-dimensional world. Sakaz shook his head. That's not the point. When the monarch escaped with his injuries, I've always suspected that he didn't do it on purpose to avoid Ming Yan's pursuit. Ding Ming said in shock. Does that mean that the Holy Palace exists in our area of the three-dimensional world? Sakaz nodded. If there was anyone who was closest to the Holy Palace back then, it would undoubtedly be the monarch. He was the strongest and most qualified, so I've always suspected this escape route. I just didn't dare to ask him. Now that we're in a desperate situation, why don't we fly into the black hole? The structure of silent entropy can withstand the mass of a black hole, and can also absorb the energy of the black hole. If we pass through the black hole, it'll be the same as using hyperspace to leave. If we can't pass through, dying in the black hole is far better than falling into the hands of the Night Phoenix Empire. Ding Ming fell silent. This was undoubtedly gambling with their lives again. This time, it wasn't just their lives that were at stake, but also the future of silent entropy in the human world. In the space-time tunnel, silent entropy and the Peach Blossom starship sped forward one after another. At the end of the tunnel was a black spot, but silent entropy, like a flying saucer, twisted its body and rushed toward the black spot. Seeing this, Emoyan couldn't help but be moved. She looked up and said, Ding Ming, butler, do you want to die? The mass of this black hole isn't something you can resist. However, what answered her was Ding Ming's cold voice. Come in and die if you can. After saying this, silent entropy's body became smaller and smaller, as if it had become a speck of light that was being drawn into the black hole. In Ding Ming's vision, the interior of the black hole was completely dark. It was so dark that he couldn't see anything. The only thing he could feel was the huge impact of the storm. The entire silent entropy was being hit by a huge force, just like an ordinary starship entering a space-time tunnel. The entire starship trembled and could disintegrate at any time. At first, Ding Ming could still feel the Peach Blossom starship flying in, but gradually, as he went deeper, his communication with General Mo Yin was cut off by the huge space storm. The hyperspace engine of silent entropy was indeed absorbing the energy inside the black hole. This energy that swallowed all matter in the galaxy was not as pure as the essence of divine light, but it was too huge. It was like a spaceship diving into the bottom of the ocean tens of thousands of meters deep, and the huge pressure of the water made it difficult to breathe. However, all Ding Ming could do now was silently endure it. He was now one with silent entropy, and the pressure silent entropy could withstand was the limit of what he could endure. The only thing worth celebrating was that Ding Ming could use silent entropy to obtain energy from this huge space storm. Although this energy could not be compared to the true essence-colored crystal, Ding-Ming could vaguely feel that there was a trend of a breakthrough. Moreover, Ji Qinxue and Mo Yin, the bedroom, were also constantly improving, all thanks to the huge conversion of the silent entropy engine. It was not until today that Ding-Ming understood what Sakas had said before. Silent entropy was not only a flying unit, but also a military fortress and a strategic weapon. Chapter 1091. The depths of the vast universe were still shrouded in darkness. After flying for an unknown amount of time, the vibrations of the silent entropy ship finally stopped, and the honeycomb hall regained its peace. Ding-Ming abruptly opened his eyes. Even Ji Qinxue and Ling Xingqi woke up. The first thing they did after waking up was to meet up with Ding-Ming. The moment they saw Ding-Ming, Ji Qinxue and Ling Xingqi's eyes turned red. They had already learned of what had happened on Peach Blossom while they were asleep. Even though powerful enemies like Vermilion Bird and Ru Feng had been eliminated, they had also paid a high price. Jun Ling had left forever. Ling Xingqi had been very close to Jun Ling in recent years, and their relationship was extremely good. She couldn't help but feel sorrowful when she thought of how her sister had died in such a painful manner. I really hate it. Ling Xingqi couldn't help but grit her teeth. It's a pity that I wasn't strong enough back then, or I definitely would have fought alongside my sister. Sigh. Ji Qinxue also let out a long sigh. Even though she had been cultivating on silent entropy, she was still no match for Mo Yin. Such a terrifying Night Phoenix powerhouse was truly despairing. Ding-Ming also remained silent. Even if the three of them worked together, they probably wouldn't be able to do anything to General Mo Yin. A lot of time has probably passed outside while we've been inside the black hole, right? Ji Qinxue asked. Sakas revealed his true form. Yes. If we calculate according to the human world's time, at least 500 years have passed in the Federal Empire, and that's only the most conservative estimate. 500 years had passed, and their old friends in the human world were probably all in the past. It was probably impossible for them to return to their original world. Now that only the three of them were left, Ling Xingqi's expression became somewhat dazed. Sakas looked at her. You still have a lot of things that you haven't let go of, right? Ling Xingqi nodded. Yes. I originally wanted to end everything and return to Xing's side. He promised me that once everything was over, we would hold a wedding and live happily together. Sister, when he would return to the Great Wei dynasty, and he would stay in the Holy Grail Federation forever, Sakas said. You don't have to be sad. Perhaps you'll have another chance like this. Oh, Ling Xingqi was a little surprised. Sakas revealed a solemn expression. Ding-Ming, I've always served the will of the Heavenly Sovereign King. I'm afraid it's time for that to end. Ding-Ming was surprised to hear that there was something wrong with his tone. What's going on? Sakas replied. See for yourself. Ding-Ming decisively mobilized his telepathic thoughts. He suddenly realized that the situation outside was very abnormal. Now that the black hole had disappeared, solitary entropy was flying in an unknown dark space-time. There was no star dust around, and it felt like he was flying into a dead zone. However, at the end of the darkness ahead, there seemed to be a very weak light flickering. Through the detection system of silent entropy, this light was only a few light years away, but the energy it emitted was jumping. The detection system said, unable to assess. This is... Ding-Ming asked in surprise. Sokka's expression was calm. Perhaps this is the legendary temple. Huh? The three of them were all shocked. Sokka said, I don't know the principle behind that black hole's teleportation, or why we were teleported here, but according to my calculations, this is the place that the Heavenly Sovereign King had always yearned for when he was alive. This scene before us has even appeared countless times in his dreams. I can be sure that this is the legendary temple. Ding-Ming and the other two were so shocked that they were speechless. Sokka turned to look at the three of them. Ding-Ming, perhaps it's time for me to say goodbye to you. Ding-Ming cried out involuntarily. Why? Ji Qinxue was also puzzled. Senior, what do you mean? Sokka chuckled. Sokka chuckled softly. I once explained that solitary entropy was the product of Heavenly King Ling Tian's lifelong, painstaking research. For the sake of its emergence, solitary entropy was even created using the entire power of planet AI. With the current energy reserves and system repair rate, solitary entropy has not recovered more than 40%. If it could be restored to its complete form and then controlled by a top-notch powerhouse, that person would be a supreme and invincible existence in this universe. Unfortunately, our luck did not allow us to reach that step. Sokka chuckled softly. Ding Ming sighed silently. Senior, I'm useless. Not only did I fail to complete this task, but I even caused my sister to lose her life. Sokka also looked at him silently. I don't blame you, Ding Ming. Perhaps you made the right choice back then. Do you still remember the first time you came to Silent Entropy? I advised you to put everything aside and focus on training, but you told me that you still wanted to return to the human world because you have family and friends. You also have ties and concerns that you can't let go of. Ding Ming listened quietly. Sokka said, Only now do I understand that it's not that you can't let go. Just like Xing Qi's longing for Xinjia, humans have life. Only with life will they have emotions. Only with emotions will they have value and reason. Only with value and reason will they complete their mission. Just like Ding Ming. In order to save you, Ding Ming, he was willing to go through water and tread on fire. So this is the right path. Sokka paused and continued to explain. The Heavenly Sovereign King, Queen Ming Yin, Emperor Zheng Yin, Demon King Xieyu. These people have traversed the universe for so many years, but they could never find this place. Perhaps it's because they are too strong, so strong that they have lost these most pure and beautiful qualities. That's why they can't find any trace of the Holy Sanctum. Why has the Holy Sanctum always been guarded by the people of Mao Xing? It's because the people of Mao Xing represent friendliness and love, worship holiness and beauty. These are the conditions to be able to reach the Holy Sanctum. Hearing these explanations, Ding Ming and the other two seemed to have understood something. Solitary entropy was created with the ultimate goal of finding the Holy Sanctum. Now that the Holy Sanctum has been found, my mission is complete. The original plan was for the monarch to bring the weapon, solitary entropy, to the Holy Sanctum, but the situation is not optimistic. Ding Ming and the others have almost no chance of winning against the Night Phoenix, so I plan to use solitary entropy to arm you. Solitary entropy is created from the universe's top treasures and can be used as a single weapon. I plan to split solitary entropy to improve your abilities. As for whether you can successfully step into the Holy Sanctum, that will depend on your luck. What I can do for you is to increase your leverage as much as possible. Ling Xingqi could not help but ask, But what about you, Senior? Sokka smiled gently. I'm just the will of the Sovereign King, and also an intelligent product of the Holy Sanctum. So you don't have to worry about it. Even if I don't split the Holy Sanctum, I will go into hibernation as long as I find it. Hearing this, the three of them could not help but feel sad again. Sokka smiled. Ding Ming, it's been a pleasure to travel with you. My biggest gain on this journey is getting to know you. You have changed my view of many things. If you truly control the power to change the world, I hope you will no longer be affected by other things. Everything will proceed according to your will. Good luck. After saying this, the symbol of planet blazing sun appeared in front of Ding Ming's eyes. There was a long string of strange runes next to it. These were the words of Planet AG. The general idea was ultimate splitting mode ready. Please confirm. Ding Ming bowed deeply to Sokka's. Senior, please rest assured. I will fulfill the Sovereign King's last wish. I will avenge my sister's death. I will also give justice to the many humans who have lost their lives. As he spoke, he mobilized his consciousness and activated the confirmation command on the symbol of planet blazing Sunday. At this moment, the entire beehive began to distort and spin like water ripples. Ding Ming and the other two discovered to their surprise that their bodies began to mutate. Their golden skin seemed to be growing out of metal. Soon, familiar equipment was born on their skin. Wrist guards, arm guards, shoulder pads, battle suits, leg guards, boots. These were the 3 battle suits that were born after the splitting of solitary entropy. Their appearance was exquisite, as if they were super warriors from a foreign universe. At the same time, a large amount of telepathic thoughts flooded into their minds, all of which were how to use the 3 sets of armor. 5 minutes later, the huge solitary entropy disappeared, leaving only 3 warriors in golden armor floating in the dark space. It was impossible to speak in the vacuum, so the 3 of them were communicating with telepathic thoughts. Ling Xingqi exclaimed, "This is probably the most expensive equipment in the universe." Ding Meng and Ji Chenxue saw it too. This set of equipment was almost a fusion of all martial arts techniques and secret manuals. At the same time, it was invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire. It could greatly increase one's attack and defense in battle, and it also had many advanced functions. The 3 of them moved their telepathic thoughts, and their bodies immediately merged into one with the darkness. Even the most advanced radar would not be able to detect them. This was the invisibility function. Even the best of the best would not be able to detect them unless they actively revealed themselves. This function alone was enough to protect them. No wonder Sokka's wanted to split solitary entropy. This was also the last bit of strength he could do for Ding Meng. "Let's move," Ding Meng said as he looked at the distant light spot. Ling Xingqi and Ji Chenxue nodded at the same time. The 3 of them were now strong enough to run freely in the universe. The 3 masses of black chaos quietly sped toward the light spot. In the blink of an eye, the distance of a few light years had passed. The light spot gradually expanded, became clearer, and appeared in front of their eyes. Ding Meng could not help but be shocked once again. What appeared in front of him was a small, lonely planet. This planet was completely dark, and thunderstorms were constantly rolling in the sky. The earth was ravaged by thunderstorms, and thick, twisted lightning bolts were falling everywhere. The surface of the planet was metal-like material. This was the small planet at the edge of the Cancer System. This was where the Demon's Supply Point and the Dragon King were located. Ling Xingqi said, "This is not the Cancer System. Before we came, I checked the coordinates on solitary entropy. This is an unknown area." Ji Chenxue said, "But this place is too similar." Ding Meng had to admit it, even if he did not want to. This was a complete copy of the Cancer System's asteroid, because the location of the entrance to the Demon's Ruins was exactly the same. There was no difference at all. "What's going on?" Ling Xingqi was confused. Ding Meng decisively ordered, "Let's go down and talk." Chapter 1092. On the desolate little planet, only the thunderclouds were rolling. Ding Meng and the other 2 were floating in midair, overlooking the desolate land. The entrance to the Demon's Ruins was like a giant black mouth on the ground, ready to swallow a person at any time. But strangely, there was no energy fluctuation, and Sokka's was so sure that this was the Holy Sanctum. The legendary Holy Sanctum should not look like this. Just as the 3 of them were hesitating, there was a violent tremor in the depths of the sky. Countless thunderclouds rolled violently, and something seemed to be about to come out from the depths of the clouds. "Someone's coming," Ling Xingqi immediately warned. The armor system was already alerting them that dangerous energy was about to arrive. Ka ka ka. A few violent flashes of lightning tore through the night sky. The intense white light made even masters like Ding Meng and the other 2 unable to open their eyes. Suddenly, a series of invisible lines appeared in the sky, densely packed like the outline of a behemoth. Rumble, 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 rumble. The earth trembled, and even the air was being squeezed. Those lines and outlines slowly became visible. It was an unparalleled superstarship. Its scale was far greater than Entropy Silence because its shape completely covered half the sky. Even the roaring thunderclouds were covered. Its appearance was also different from a normal starship. It looked like a majestic, ancient castle that fell from the sky, but it looked more like an interstellar fortress. Its whole body seemed to be made of a special yellowish stone, and its whole body gave off a strong, ancient, and vicissitude feeling. As for its energy, there was no energy at all. It was like a mysterious, ancient city that had mysteriously appeared in the world. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, Ding Meng and the other two would not have believed that this was real. What kind of power and technology could do something like this? It definitely came from the civilization of the gods. It was also at this moment that the armor system marked the starship's name on their retinas. Allure, the top strategic fortress exclusive to the Night Luan Kingdom, built in XXL 32011, 28 million years ago. So this starship's name was Allure. It was very appropriate, but Allure was the top starship of the Night Luan Kingdom. Could it be that Queen Yin had also come to this place? While Ding Meng and the other two were still in shock, many pink dots of light appeared on the desolate land. The dots of light slowly expanded, and several figures slowly walked out from within. They were all peerless beauties, wearing the unique white Taoist robes of the Night Phoenix Empire. Moreover, their auras caused Ding Meng and the other two to hold their breaths. It was because none of the 20-plus women were weak. Each of them was a genuine interstellar martial saint. This was an armed force that could flatten any star system. Ding Meng discovered that General Mo Yin was also among them, but Mo Yin was not the leader. The leader was another beautiful woman, and Mo Yin and another general were on her left and right. The Night Luan Kingdom had all kinds of beauties, but they were really tired of looking at them. The beauties were really numbing. The only thing that shocked Ding Meng and the other two was the combat evaluation displayed by the system on their retinas. The Central Beauty's value was 960,000 trillion points, and General Mo Yan's value was 220,000 trillion points. It turned out that General Mo Yan was close to a mid-level martial saint, and the leading beauty was almost a galactic martial god. Ji Qinxue said, "Could this be the legendary Queen Yin?" Ding Meng shook his head and said, "I don't think so." Ling Xingqi said, "Look over there." In the air behind this group of Night Phoenix martial practitioners, the air also began to distort. A short moment later, four strange demonic black mist quietly appeared. First, there were 3 clouds of black fog circling in the air in a row. Just like General Henning, they seemed to only be able to live in the demonic fog forever. Only the silhouette of a human could be seen inside, but the strength of their aura made Ding Meng and the others feel shocked. The 3 demon generals were also galactic martial saints. Above the 3 demon generals was a cloud of demonic fog that was several times larger. A clearer human figure appeared in the demonic fog. Without looking at the value, Ding Meng and the others could sense that these demons had surpassed the martial saint realm and are definitely galactic martial gods. However, these demons had a kind of evil beauty. They must be a rare handsome man among demons. With so many experts appearing all of a sudden, Ji Qinxue really felt that it was difficult to breathe. Who are these people? Fortunately, all the Night Luan martial artists on the ground turned around, bowed their heads slightly, and said in unison, "Welcome, Demon Lord Xieyu." Demon Lord Xieyu? Ding Meng and the others instantly opened their mouths wide. Could this be the highest ruler of the Demon Sky Empire? Xieyu? Xieyu's voice was sharp and crisp, sounding like a woman's voice. "General Hongyu, General Lung Tong, General Moyen, you don't have to be so courteous. Thank you for your hard work. I hope this trip can be what everyone wants." Ding Meng and the others didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They even held their breaths. If they were exposed now, they wouldn't even have the thought of resisting. Under Ding Meng's signal, the 3 slowly floated up and looked at the ground from afar. The leader of the Night Luan martial artists was General Hongyu. At this moment, she turned her head and asked, "General Moyen, is this the correct location? Lord Demon Lord has crossed billions of galaxies to come here." In front of Hongyu, even Moyen was very respectful. "It's definitely the correct location. Previously, in the transmission tunnel, I had already branded a mark on solitary entropy. After leaving the black hole, solitary entropy mysteriously disappeared. This area is also the domain of deathly silence. Ding Ming and the others can't have escaped. They must be nearby, and there's only one place nearby. It must be where the Holy Palace is. This answer couldn't be said to be 100% certain, so Hong Yu's expression was somewhat hesitant. However, Xie Yu leisurely said in midair, General Moyen's words are extremely correct. Hong Yu lowered her head and said, Please explain, Demon Lord. Xie Yu seemed to be taking a deep breath. I sensed 2 remnant auras in this place. Although the auras were faint, I was extremely familiar with them. One of them belonged to General Henning, who I sent out many years ago. The other belonged to the demon King Ao Sheng of the True Demon Clan. However, both of them have already died. Only a faint remnant aura is still there. Only my Demon Sky clan can sense it. Hong Yu seemed to understand. It seems that this place really is near the Holy Palace. Xie Yu is somewhat emotional. Of the 8 major races, the Night Luan Empire, the Demon Sky Empire, the True Yao clan, the Mao Xing Divine Light, the AIG people, the Huck clan, the Tansang civilization, and the Titan civilization. Now, more than half of them have been destroyed. Only my Demon Sky Empire and your country are left. The Holy Palace is definitely in the hands of our 2 countries. General Lung Tong, who was beside Hong Yu, seemed to be a little old. She had a mature temperament. She muttered, Lord Demon Lord, although Yao King Ao Sheng and Ling Tian King are dead, Mao Xing's remnants still exist. The Huck clan has been stranded at the edge of the universe and hasn't been completely destroyed. We can't underestimate them. Xie Yu chuckled. General New Moon, don't worry. These remnants aren't even a motley crew. They won't be able to do much. Of the 6 territories of the past, only my country and your country are left. There's no need to worry. Lung Tong retreated without saying anything. Hong Yu muttered, If that's the case, then let's invite Her Majesty to come here personally. Let's see if this is the legendary Holy Palace. As soon as she said that, the sky was filled with pink light. A 7-colored cloud appeared in midair. Within the cloud, a beautiful figure was faintly discernible. Her aura was so strong that it was rarely seen. If it weren't for the solitary entropy armor, Ling Xingqi and Ji Qinxue would have fainted on the spot. Even Ding Meng felt dizzy. This aura was really terrifying. It was really too strong. Really, this aura wasn't something that humans could withstand. No human could imagine such a strong existence. This was the realm of a god. It was a miracle in the truest sense of the word. They hadn't seen her in person, but the Night Phoenix women on the ground all knelt on the ground. They said in unison, We welcome Her Majesty the Queen's appearance. We swear to follow Her Majesty until death. We will never abandon Her Majesty. Even Xie Yu, who was in midair, brought the 3 demon generals to the ground. The 3 demon generals naturally knelt down as well. Xie Yu himself knelt on one knee and said in a devout tone, Demon Lord Xie Yu welcomes Goddess Ming Yin. Xie Yu will always be by Her Majesty's side. His kowtow had the meaning of submission, but it also had the feeling of an ambiguous confession. The clouds gradually began to disperse. A beautiful figure finally landed on the ground. At this moment, the entire world lost its color. Ding Meng and the other 2 finally saw the legendary Queen Ming Yin, whose name shook the galaxy and moved the universe unhindered. She wasn't very tall. Her attire was also different from the Night Phoenix generals. She was wearing a pure white and flawless palace gauze. When she descended from the sky, she was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. She wore a golden crown on her head. Her face was covered by a white gauze. Her entire body only revealed her smooth neck. This attire made her look like a mountain without revealing anything. But through the white gauze, it made you feel that it was a stunning face that could make all living things fall for her. Even Ji Qinxue and Ling Xingqi couldn't compare to her. If it was said that using her appearance and figure to describe Queen Ming Yin was too vulgar, then what was truly attractive about Queen Ming Yin was her temperament and charm. When she descended, she was the center of attention. After she landed, she slightly raised her hand, Rise. Thank you, Queen Ming Yin, for your grace." Only then did the generals stand up. Just by looking at her gesture, you would immediately realize that she was filled with supreme majesty. And the sound of rise was crisp and enchanting. First, it made you feel incomparably pure. Then, it could lead you to let your imagination run wild. Then, she leisurely walked towards Hong Yu and the others. Her posture was extremely flirtatious. Perhaps only a true beauty of the highest quality could have such a graceful bearing. It was enough to make people infatuated. When she got closer, her gaze turned and her eyes fell to the side. At this moment, she didn't look like a mannequin that had walked out of a painting. Instead, she was truly alive. Her gentle eyes seemed to have a kind of charm that could steal one's soul. "Lord Devil Monarch, you've worked hard." It was just 2 short sentences, but it contained a mixture of different tones. It seemed to be consolation, concern, gentleness, and command. It was even more like the whispers of a lover beside one's ear. How could one not let their imagination run wild? In short, such a beauty, her every movement and speech satisfied any man's fantasy of a perfect goddess. She was exactly what you imagine her to be. If you had an inner demon, she would be a slut. If you were like the sun, she would become a goddess. If you were a woman with thousands of cleavages, she would become a woman with thousands of changes. At this moment, even a person with a strong heart like Ding Meng felt dizzy when he saw Queen Ming Yen. He seemed to see many familiar faces and smiles in front of his eyes. No matter if it was his friends or enemies, they were all unusually eye-catching. They were all the sides that had left a deep impression on him. He felt that it was especially unreal. Of course, even he couldn't deny that in front of such a beauty, there was no one who wouldn't be moved. Even Ling Xingqi sighed. No wonder Lord Ling Tian chose her as his wife. If it was me, even if I was a woman, I would still pursue her. Chapter 1093. Queen Ming Yen landed on the ground, and the Night Phoenix generals immediately came forward. Hong Yu bowed and said, "Your Majesty, the Demon King, and our soldiers all believe that this is near the Holy Temple. Please make a decision." Ming Yen glanced around, and even Ding Meng and the other 2 immediately felt a vague wave. If they were not equipped with the silent entropy armor, they would have been discovered. Ming Yen seemed to be scanning everything on the planet. After a while, she slowly said, "Lord Ling Tian had been searching for the Holy Temple when he was alive. Since it is the Holy Temple, it must represent the origin of the universe. Since it is the origin of the universe, it must be an ancient object. The generals are right. This place is indeed near the Holy Temple. Thank you for your hard work." Han Yu respectfully retreated. At that moment, Ming Yen extended a slender finger and gently tapped the air in front of her. A strand of pinkish light, as thin as a needle and thread, shot out. This strand of energy was indeed heading toward the entrance of the tunnel. Halfway through, it transformed into a miniature mirror image of the queen. This was just a fake image that Ming Yen casually created, but its aura was already the wave of an interstellar martial god. Ding Meng and the other 2 did not know what to say. They were completely speechless. As soon as this mirror image appeared, dense black dots immediately appeared above the entrance of the tunnel. The black dots arranged themselves and finally turned into a human figure. This was the paper-like Dragon King. The Dragon King let out a low voice. Such a powerful aura. Could it be that Queen Ming Yen has come personally? Ming Yen replied, "It is I who has personally come to this dead land of the universe. Long time no see, Lord Black Dragon King. We haven't seen each other for hundreds of thousands of years, right?" The Dragon King seemed to be afraid of Ming Yen. "The last time I saw you, you were still traveling in the Night Phoenix galaxy. I didn't expect you to be so interested in coming to this remote place." Ming Yen did not immediately answer him. Instead, she pondered and said, "Lord Black Dragon King, you are an ancient life form, an extraterrestrial dragon. You have always traveled the 3 realms and did not care about the secular world. You ride the wind and ride the clouds to seek freedom. There are songs in the sky, so why are you willing to suffer here? The Dragon King refused to answer this question. Evil Words smiled sinisterly. Lord Black Dragon King, we originally had some friendship. I don't know why you have to kill my subordinate, General Henning. The Dragon King sighed. The Night One Sovereign King and the Devil Heaven Sovereign King are both gathered here. There's no point in me hiding anything. I also understand why you guys are here. Ding Ming thought about it. The last time he met the Dragon King had said that the legendary Holy Temple did not exist in the universe. But now, from his tone, he admitted it. This meant that the so-called Holy Temple still existed. The Dragon King had explained it in such a way because he did not want this secret to be exposed. Ding Ming seemed to have understood something. Now, he had figured out two things. The first was that the Dragon King was not his enemy, and he even had the intention of befriending him. The second was that the real Holy Temple had always been hidden at the edge of the Cancer System. The world that extended out was actually the Great Way Dynasty. This was a place that no one would have thought of, but now it seemed that this small planet should have been teleported to an unknown galaxy. Sure enough, Ming Yin said faintly, this place should be the edge of this universe. If we break through further, it would be an unknown new world. Lord Black Dragon King is an ancient life form. Only with such a noble identity guarding this place can it be reasonable to explain the existence of the Holy Temple. The Dragon King said, Ming Yin, evil words. When you guys fought with Ling Tian many years ago, you have already broken the laws of this world. The Holy Land has already flown away from the core galaxy of the southern sky. Today, you guys were able to find this place. It's nothing more than tracking down the Heaven's Chosen One. Ming Yin said, Is it that Ding Ming? The Dragon King said seriously, Yes, the Heaven's Chosen One was calculated and selected by the Holy Land more than 40 years ago. If you guys come here one day, it will be the end of your lives and also the beginning of this world. Ming Yin didn't answer, but Mo Yin laughed. Lord Black Dragon King, the Heaven's Chosen One has only lived for 40 years. Even if he has extraordinary talent, he's only a galactic general. I'm really curious. What's the use of the Holy Temple selecting such a low-level life form as the Heaven's Chosen One? The Dragon King said proudly, Your Night Phoenix race was originally a remnant of the ancient times. You relied on selling your body to survive in this world. You have indeed multiplied to this day and are indeed a colossus. However, the Holy Land doesn't choose the Heaven's Chosen One based on their level, only the quality of the life form. If you want to enter the Holy Land, it has nothing to do with strength, only character. Listen to me, it's extremely difficult for you guys to enter the Holy Land. Ming Yin said, Lord Black Dragon King, you and I have known each other for quite some time, more or less. Leave this place, and continue being a free dragon god. You should know that you can't stop me, and I don't want to make things difficult for you. The Dragon King sneered. You want to go to the Holy Land? Then you'll have to step over my dead body. Ming Yin turned her head and said, Generals, who is willing to serve me this time? Hong Yu stepped forward decisively. Your Majesty, I'm willing to go on behalf of you. Ming Yin nodded. Okay. Seeing this, Ding Ming and the other two flew even higher. It seemed that the fierce battle before them could be avoided. Ding Ming had seen how the Dragon King destroyed Henning and the Demon King, but this Hong Yu was no ordinary expert. This battle would definitely be devastating. At this moment, the Queen's mirror image was recalled by Ming Yin. Hong Yu stepped forward slowly and cupped her hands. Senior, I'm sorry for offending you this time. The Dragon King did not dare to be negligent. If you can really destroy me, then that's your ability. Hong Yu did not say anything else. She floated forward lightly, her white dress drawing an arc in the air. From afar, it looked like a sharp blade. Although it looked simple, Ding Ming and the other two retreated again and again. The force field was so strong that it covered an area of more than 100 kilometers. Hong Yu swept past the tunnel, but the Dragon King was no longer where he was. Hong Yu stopped, turned around, and flipped her hand. A large amount of energy flowed out of her palm in the opposite direction. It was a magnificent galaxy formed by countless peach blossom petals. Ding Meng and the other two's eyes almost couldn't keep up. The large amount of flower petals surged into the air and wrapped around the Dragon King, who had stopped in his tracks. It was like a cocoon wrapping the Dragon King inside. Then, Han Yu transformed into a pink butterfly and swept past the cocoon like lightning. She glided across the sky, and there was a violent explosion in the air. The energy flowed in all directions, and the flower petals rained down. The Dragon King seemed to have been blown to pieces. Ji Qinxue and Ling Xingqi widened their eyes. The whole process took less than a second. If they were in Hong Yu's shoes, they would have been turned into ashes by now. Let alone blocking Hong Yu's sweeping butterfly, they would have been killed by her first blade light. Hong Yu's boots fell to the ground with a thud. She stood back in her original position. However, she was cold and expressionless. The others also looked serious. They did not seem to be happy about winning at all. Ling Xingqi frowned. There's no breath. Is it gone just like that? Ding Meng also frowned. No, the Dragon King is still here. As soon as he finished speaking, a black shadow at the entrance of the tunnel slowly became clear. The paper-like Dragon King reappeared. Ding Meng explained, "It has the body of heavenly strategy. It will never die unless its roots are injured." Ji Qinxue also stared down. "These Night Luan warriors must know this, right?" Ding Meng said. "There's no reason for them not to know." At this moment, Hong Yu spoke again. "Senior, are you going easy on me?" The Dragon King said calmly, "Little girl, it's good that you understand." Hong Yu revealed a charming smile. "If that's the case, I'll have to ask you to make the first move." The Dragon King shook his head. "I'm not going to make the first move." A cold light flashed in Hong Yu's eyes. "I think it's not that you don't want to make the first move. You don't even dare to make the first move." As soon as she finished speaking, she soared into the sky like a pillar of light. At this moment, the light around her body blazed, and she turned into a pink humanoid light. Her aura suddenly soared by a large margin. Ling Xingqi and Ji Qinxue didn't even have time to observe the vision provided by the silent entropy system before the powerful aura forced them to fly towards the edge of the atmosphere. In Ding Meng's field of vision, Hong Yu's combat value rose to 2,700,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,0 High up in the air, Hong Yu used the signature heart-shaped hand gesture of the Knight Wand martial artists. With a loud shout, she pushed her palms down and a pink energy ball smashed towards the ground like a meteor. This pink energy ball had a diameter of at least 3 kilometers. It was like an interstellar cannonball being thrown down. In other words, the Dragon King was the only one who was fighting. The Federal Empire was still below him, and even the super fleet would be smashed into cannon fodder. As expected, the Dragon King had amazing skills. Seeing that the pink energy ball was getting closer and closer, he suddenly raised his hands and caught it. However, the observant Ding Meng could still tell that this cannonball was too powerful. The part above the Dragon King's knees had sunk into the metal ground. If it wasn't for this buffer, the cannonball might have exploded. With this buffer, the Dragon King retracted his arms and lifted them up. The pink energy ball was actually pushed out by him. The cannonball didn't hit Hong Yu. Instead, it rolled towards the alluring starship in space. Ding Meng and the other two once again witnessed the strength of the Night Yuan Empire. The alluring starship was really like a majestic ancient castle. When the small cannonball came into contact with the surface, it was like a bubble hitting a red-hot iron. With a chi sound, it was vaporized. Ling Xingqi shook her head and sighed. She thought that she was a famous person who had seen countless big scenes, but the scene in front of her was too shocking. Moreover, these strong people were their enemies. In the face of so many strong enemies, anyone's confidence would be shaken. While thinking, she turned her head to look at Ding Meng. However, his eyes were bright and his expression was firm. She couldn't help but admire him secretly. The greatest strength of Ding Meng was his willpower. He knew that he was going to die, but he still went ahead without hesitation. Just like Ding Meng. So what if there were thousands of strong enemies? I sacrificed my life for righteousness and got what I asked for. It's good to die in a place like this. At least I've fought with the strongest people in the universe. I'll have no regrets in this life. Chapter 1094. The Dragon King's attack was repelled by the martial, god-level powerhouse's attack. It seemed powerful enough, but on second thought, the Dragon King had no intention of taking the initiative to attack. He had been passively defending. Hong Yu, who was in the sky, was also surprised that the heavenly book body could block the martial god's attack. She did not know how powerful the Black Dragon King's true body was, but she had already made a military order in front of Ming Yan. She had no choice but to be ruthless. Hong Yu stretched her limbs and extended her body. At this moment, her aura was still surging. The thunderclouds in the sky began to roll again. The thunderclouds turned pink, and the entire sky was dyed pink. This energy aura was comparable to the power of heaven and earth. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Hong Yu's body suddenly split into 5 identical mirror images. They looked like mirror images, but they were actually real people. In other words, her strength had been indirectly increased by 5 times. The 6 Hong Yes lined up in a row. Their hands were in the shape of a heart. The 6 of them pushed down together. This time, it was not pink cannonballs that came crashing down. Instead, it was 6 continuous streams of pink energy. They flew halfway and gathered together to form a petal-shaped energy, but looked more like a sharp arrow. In the sky, Hong Yu's expression was ferocious. She gritted her teeth and shouted coldly, "If you dare to dodge, this planet will be reduced to pieces. Take this." As expected, the Dragon King did not dodge. He raised his palms again and took the attack with his bare hands. There was a loud bang. It felt as if he had not caught an arrow, but a stream of hot flames. The terrifying temperature kept burning his palms. At first, the Dragon King was as steady as a rock. Gradually, as Hong Yu exerted more force, he could not take it anymore. Oh no! Ling Xingqi could also see that the Dragon King's paper-like black mirror image was gradually dimming. This was clearly a sign that his energy was weakening. Ding Meng's eyes flashed. He should have a backup plan. Sure enough, when half of the Dragon King's body sank into the ground, his face suddenly emitted a huge wave of air. It was as if a nebula was spreading out in all directions. An astonishing scene appeared. With a boom, the black paper figure turned into a black ancient dragon. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, emitting a murderous aura. Even Ding Meng couldn't recognize this aura, but the dragon's breath completely blocked the arrowhead's attack. Ding Meng and the others let out a long sigh. No wonder Ming Yin called him the Black Dragon King. It turned out that this was his true form. Seeing the appearance of the Black Dragon, another figure flew into the sky. "General Hong Yu, I'm here to lend you a hand." Raising his head, he saw that it was Lung Tong who had soared into the clouds, and the others had followed suit. Lung Tong hovered above Hong Yu's head. She did not use the signature heart-shaped hand gesture of the Night Yuan martial artists, but with her body as the center, it was as if a translucent mirror image had appeared around her. This mirror image looked like 2 flower petals, But in reality, it was more like a strange eye, constantly emitting pink, highly condensed energy into its surroundings. Seeing this eye, he finally understood why she was called General Lungtong. This was definitely a very powerful psychic expert. This Queen Yan's subordinates were undoubtedly not experts. It could be said that there were as many experts as there were clouds. The moment Lungtong rose into the air, 6 beams of light shot out from his eye mirror and landed on the back of Hong Yu's head. The energy shot out from the 6 Hong Yu's palms grew thicker and hotter. Even though the silent entropy system did not reveal what kind of battle technique this was, Ding Meng and the others could tell with a single glance that Lungtong had directly injected energy into Hong Yu, increasing her attack power by more than 6 times. The notification popped up in their vision that Hong Yu's current combat value had risen to 175, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000 000 000 000 000 000 000 000 000 000 At this moment, the arrowhead mirror image on the ground suddenly expanded into a pink pupil, just like a real blazing sun star. Perhaps even a real blazing sun star would not be so powerful. The light ball with a diameter of tens of kilometers crashed into the ground and sank into the ground. As for the dragon's breath, sorry. But the Black Dragon King situation was similar to Jun Ling's when he had fallen. His body was slowly disintegrated, bit by bit, until it was reduced to nothing. However, the light ball did not stop attacking. Looking from outer space, the small planet was slowly collapsing, like a huge amount of water condensing into a singular point. Then, with a loud boom, a shocking explosion occurred. Perhaps this was the first time Ding Meng and the others had seen what it meant to shatter the stars and destroy a planet with a single palm. It's really too powerful. Ling Xingqi sighed sincerely. Ding Meng did not reply, because he realized that although the small planet had been destroyed, the underground palace was still intact. This skeleton-like palace was originally gray, but it slowly glowed. At the same time, it slowly floated into outer space and gradually expanded. Not long after, it turned into a splendid and exquisite palace. It was originally a dead place, but now it was full of life and vitality. It was originally a ruin, but now it was like a city that had just been revived. Even the colossal beauty was like a small beast under the elephant's foot when compared to it. Such a magnificent palace floated in the deep and vast void, like a shocking miracle that had appeared out of nowhere. One could only look up to it, and could only revere it. This was because its entire body was emitting a kind of energy that no one had ever seen before. This was a kind of brand new power that combined all the energy in the universe. Ding Meng and the others were dumbfounded. Could this be the legendary sacred palace? Could it be that after the Black Dragon King was destroyed, the sacred palace would appear? In fact, there is no need to doubt it, because Ji Qinxue and Ling Xingqi saw the colossal beauty slowly fly towards the radiant sacred palace. It was like a leaf that had drifted into a vast harbor, disappearing without a trace in an instant. Ding Meng looked at the fragments of the planet that were drifting in outer space and felt very uncomfortable. He did not think that the Dragon King's destruction was that shocking. The strength of the Night Lawn martial artists was a terrifying fact that could not be disputed. What he was thinking was that the Dragon King was probably the guardian of the sacred palace. It was really a pity that he was gone just like that. Ding Meng's expression was a little dazed. Along the way, how many powerful enemies had fallen? However, how many of his friends had also left forever? Even the Allied forces had sacrificed their lives for the sake of righteousness. After paying such a high price, whether it was worth it or not was not the main point. Now that he had come this far, was there any meaning to it? Ling Xingqi's voice suddenly woke him up. Ding Meng, let's go up too. Ding Meng snapped out of his daze, and the three of them immediately flew slowly towards the legendary sacred palace. In fact, he and Ji Qinxue were very familiar with the layout of the sacred palace. It was basically an enlarged version of the underground palace, but in reality, after entering through the magnificent, glowing interstellar gate, the situation inside was far beyond their imagination. This was a world of light. Beams of colorful light had completely materialized. The place where the three of them were standing was like a straight road constructed by light, and the road had no end. The light all around them were densely stacked together, like a wall or an endless galaxy. It was more like the colorful, chaotic world inside the space-time tunnel. What exactly is this place? Ling Xingqi was extremely shocked. Ji Qinxue was also confused, because she realized that she could not move her feet. Ding Meng also realized this problem. His legs seemed to be out of his control, and he was rooted to the ground. In this situation, he had no choice but to use the supervision of Sovereign's descent. The three of them spread out their telekinesis vision, and the light on both sides was lifted like a curtain. Then a large amount of telepathic thoughts flooded their minds, and their vision changed. The environment around them became both familiar and unfamiliar. What appeared in front of Ding Meng was a world of ice and snow. This was not an illusion, nor was it a flashback. It was a complete and real reality. The reason was simple. Ding Meng realized that he was starving, and his head was heavy. How many years had it been since he last felt this familiar sense of panic? When he looked up again, in front of him, in the middle of the white snow, there was a large gunny sack. The snowflakes were so big that it was difficult to open one's eyes, and it made Ding Meng feel extremely cold. Next to the gunny sack, there was a little girl in thin clothes leaning against a rock. She was surrounded by a group of children and a middle-aged man, and all of them had concerned looks on their faces. "Sister, I'll get you some water. What's going on?" "Hang in there, hang in there." Looking at all this in front of him, Ding Meng was extremely shocked. This situation was exactly the same as that difficult winter in the colorful cloud plating. The injured person was the little girl, the leader of the children was Ding Wenhe, and the middle-aged man was the citizen protector. This was not an illusion, but a time reversal. The little girl smiled at Ding Wenhe with difficulty. I can't steal rice for you anymore. This might be the last time. I'm sorry, I ran into the border guards again. This time, I couldn't avoid them. I could only try my best to walk back. The citizen protector panicked. He turned his head and shouted desperately, "Wenhe, go get some cloth and medicine. Is there any medicine left? Quick, come and bandage your wounds." His voice sounded like he was crying, but the little girl looked at him with gentle eyes. "I told you, you're different from the citizen protectors in other places. You're a good person because you're willing to stay here and protect them for 9 years. You're different." Seeing this familiar scene, Ding Meng's blood surged. He could not stand it any longer. He broke through the crowd and rushed forward without caring about anything else. It was not until the moment he took a step forward that he realized that he was also a child. Not only could this temple turn back time, but could also return people to the past. This was unbelievable, but Ding Meng did not care about anything else. He rushed forward and shouted, "Let me do it! Let me do it! I can save her!" He did not care about Ding Wenhe and the citizen protector's shocked eyes. He flew forward and pressed his palm against the little girl's chest. He activated the origin and began to inject energy. Traces of warmth were indeed injected into the little girl's heart, but Ding Meng's heart sank. He realized that even though he had 10 Diamond Star origin, the amount of energy he could use was less than 1/1,000,000th. In other words, he was not even a beginner origin ability warrior. How could an ordinary origin ability user save someone who was about to die? But Ding Meng did not care. He activated the origin to the limit. He would do anything to save the little girl. This was because this was his remaining obsession in this life. Or rather, this was one of his biggest regrets. He did not want to have any regrets in his life. Chapter 1095. The snowstorm was still raging, but the little girl's face slowly regained some color. She smiled at Ding Meng and asked, "Brother, what's your name?" Ding Meng hurriedly replied, "Sister, my name is Ding Meng. I'm from the iridescent cloud plating." The little girl smiled, and her smile was very gratified. "Brother Ding Meng, you're a good boy." Seeing that her condition had improved, the shock on Ding Wenhe and the citizen protector's faces was replaced by a relieved smile. However, Ding Meng could not smile. At this moment, his heart was filled with mixed feelings. This was because he knew that the little girl's real name was Jiang Li. She had just turned 13 this year and was the younger sister of Jiang Cheng, the ruler of the Dashing dynasty. As a princess of the dynasty, her young life was forever fixed on the barren land of the iridescent cloud plating. As expected, the little girl's face turned pale again. Her voice became weak again. "Brother Ding Meng, take good care of your companions." She suddenly turned to look at the citizen protector. "Can you help them?" The citizen protector's expression was complicated, but he still nodded slowly and firmly. "I'll help." The little girl smiled again. "Thank you." After saying these 3 words, her eyes slowly closed, and the weak aura also disappeared. "Little girl, little girl, little girl." The citizen protector screamed crazily. Dingwana also cried, "Sister, wake up, wake up." All the children gathered around and knelt on the snowy ground, crying silently. Only Ding Meng was left kneeling on the ground, dumbfounded. He looked around blankly. Why? Why is this happening? I clearly injected energy into her, but why can't I save her? He turned his head again and looked at the citizen protector who was pounding his chest and stamping his feet. He realized an even crueler fact. Next, this kind-hearted citizen protector was also going to steal food. In the end, he fell under a flurry of blades. If he could not save the little girl, then there was no way he could save the citizen protector. The divine temple had given him another chance, but history had not been rewritten. That feeling of helplessness and grief surged into Ding Meng's heart again. That feeling of hatred made him feel a sharp pain in his head. Suddenly, Ding Meng's vision changed again. She was back on the temple's main path. If it weren't for the fact that she had experienced it herself, Ding Meng would never have believed that she had gone back in time. When he raised his head again, he realized that Ji Qinshiwei and Ling Xingqi beside him were also shocked. Ji Qinshiwei's shocked expression, and Ling Xingqi's was somewhat frightened. "What did you guys experience?" Ding Meng took the initiative to ask. The 3 of them exchanged telepathic messages, and Ding Meng immediately saw that the situation of the 2 girls was exactly the same as his. Time had also reversed. The only difference was that Ji Qinshiwei had returned to the time when she was a child and studied hard in the manor. Her kind mother taught and cared for her in every possible way. This was the childhood that Ji Qinshiwei missed the most in her life. Unfortunately, she could no longer go back. Even if she could, with her strength as strong as an interstellar martial supremacy, she would not be able to save her beloved mother's life. Ling Xingqi's experience was also when she was a child. During her childhood, other than taking enhancement drugs, she was practicing martial arts. There was almost no time for her to rest. Zhu Bihua did not treat her as her own child at all. She was simply nurturing her as a tool. While the 3 of them were shocked, Ji Qinshiwei took the initiative to speak. Can we understand it that way? The power of the divine temple is beyond imagination. It can reincarnate time and let us return to the past. Ding Meng thought about it and agreed. Indeed, Ling Xingqi said, but this does not explain why our strength has been greatly weakened. Ding Meng could not answer this question either. He tried to move his feet again, and to his surprise, he actually managed to take a few steps forward. However, it was only a few steps. Ding Meng pondered and said, going back to the past and solving those unsolved problems might be able to change the future, and the future is our present. Ling Xingqi was silent. Perhaps this is the only way. Otherwise, we will not be able to move an inch in the divine temple. After saying that, she activated her psychic vision. Ji Qinshiwei also activated his psychic strings. Ding Meng's vision changed again, and the scene around him changed again. This time, it was not a scene of pure white snow. The scene changed, and he saw countless pearl-shaped energy bullets forming an airtight net in front of him. In between, there were also large groups of white cannonballs smashing toward him. He did not have the time to observe his surroundings and turned to run. Next, the entire world shook, and the rumbling sounds of explosions rang out incessantly behind him. In the end, he leaped and plunged into a dark passageway. The tunnel was completely dark. Ding Meng rolled on the ground for more than 10 meters. Behind him, a large number of steel plates collapsed, completely blocking the entrance of the tunnel. What was this place? Why did it feel so familiar? Ding Meng turned his head to look, and his heart almost jumped out of his chest. In the corner of the passage lay a hairy dwarf. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and blood was flowing out of his mouth. Little 4. Ding Meng's blood rushed to his head. This was the experimental hall of the Black Gold base. In that difficult battle, Little 4 had died here. Sure enough, A piece of metal came out of little Four's chest. It was the third and fourth ribs, the vital parts of the heart. The explosion of the mercenaries had caused the flying alloy plates to pierce through little Four's chest from back. Little Four, pull yourself together. Ding Ming rushed over. Little Four shook his head weakly. Brother Ding, I remember now. My surname is Zhong. They call me Zhong Si because I am the fourth. Little Four, don't speak. I can save you. Ding Ming suddenly calmed down. He reached out and pressed a hand on Little Four's chest, and a steady stream of origin energy flowed into him. I know that you have an older sister. Her name is Zhong Ting, and she is the third child. On your fourth birthday, she personally gave you this bracelet. You've been carrying it with you all these years. You didn't change it even when you were at your most difficult. These were Little Four's last words, but now they were spoken by Ding Ming himself. As he said these words, Ding Ming felt like tears were about to flow out of his eyes. This was one of his few friends, his most loyal friend. He had trusted him completely even when he was on the brink of death. He had to do everything in his power to save his friend. Little Four stared at Ding Ming in shock. He didn't know how Ding Ming knew about his secrets, but Ding Ming continued. Your hometown is in the 56th district of the Linda system, Heavenly Dream City, Area C9, 11th Street, number 23. That place has now been reduced to rubble because it is now a riot zone. Little Four listened quietly. Ding Ming had used the power of his palm to force the steel plate out of his body. Pure origin energy healed Little Four's injuries. Little Four stood up and looked at his open hands in surprise. I'm healed. I'm healed. Brother Ding, I'm healed. Ha ha ha. Looking at Little Four's surprised smile, Ding Ming also smiled with relief. At this moment, all his hard work had been worth it. Ding Ming also stood up decisively. Little Four, let's go. Okay, I'll go with you, Brother Ding. Little Four's vitality was restored. The exit of the tunnel was like a bright spot the size of a broad bean. The bright spot grew bigger and bigger until it became a golden opening. Ding Ming jumped out of the tunnel without caring about anything else. When he landed on the dry and hot ground, his heart sank again. He suddenly realized that he had overlooked a problem. Judging from a flow of origin energy in his body, he was now a junior warrior, but Little Four's origin energy hadn't changed at all. Little Four was still just an ordinary laborer. How could a laborer withstand such a terrifyingly high temperature outside? Ding Ming turned his head in horror. Little Four's entire body was on fire at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, he was quickly charred and finally vaporized. No! Ding Ming roared and reached out to grab him. However, at this moment, his vision returned to normal. He was back in the tunnel of the Holy Palace again. At this moment, Ling Xingqi and Ji Chenxue were nowhere to be seen. Ding Ming stood there in a daze. Why couldn't he change the past, even though he had tried so hard? What was the point of changing history if he couldn't? A familiar voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Going back to the past is not for you to change history. Ding Ming was shocked. The Dragon King's voice? So you're still alive. A paper-like humanoid mirror image slowly took shape in front of him. It was indeed the Dragon King's heavenly strategy body. However, the Dragon King's tone was very serious. Strictly speaking, my real body has already been destroyed by Hong Yu and Lung Tong, including my spiritual body. Ding Ming was confused. But why are you? The Dragon King interrupted him. This is the last trace of my will that I have left behind in the Holy Palace. My goal is to help the Chosen One. Ding Ming probed. Are you the guardian of the Holy Palace? The Dragon King said, You're very smart to have thought of this. However, I didn't expect Hong Yu and the others to be so powerful now. Even I'm no match for them. When he thought of the terrifying lineup of the Night Luan Empire and the Demonic Sky Empire, Ding Ming fell into a daze. The Dragon King said, Don't worry. You will defeat them in the end. Ding Ming smiled bitterly. These words are really, even I can't believe it. The Dragon King said solemnly, You are the Chosen One. You will inherit the power of this holy palace. You are in existence like a cosmos god. Is there any powerful enemy that you can't defeat? Ding Meng asked, What is this holy palace? The Dragon King said, I can only explain it to you this way. This is the core of the entire universe. It will randomly appear in any corner of this universe. It controls the operating laws of the universe and possesses supreme power. This is the origin of the universe, the place where the Creator exists. It can also be said to be the place where the apex treasures are stored. This is also why the Sky High King, Queen Mingyan, and Demon Monarch Xie broke their heads to enter this place. Ding Meng was a little confused. Forget it. See for yourself. The Dragon King waved his hand lightly. An unprecedentedly huge amount of information flowed into Ding Meng's mind. Chapter 1096. With a loud boom, Ding Meng's head hurt again. The amount of information contained in this telepathic message was so large that he almost failed to receive it. However, he still saw it. In the void, a huge explosion occurred that exceeded the knowledge of all life forms. It was an explosion that could not be described with words because it was just the explosion of a singularity, and then everything was born. Space, time, matter, energy, particles, light waves, dimensions, molecules, cells, life, planets, star fields, galaxies, clusters of galaxies. This was the process of the birth of the universe. It was wonderful, spectacular, and glorious, and it ended in a short moment. However, after the explosion, the original infinitely small, infinitely dense, and infinitely hot singularity no longer existed. It was replaced by a dancing golden butterfly. It was so small that it could not be seen with the naked eye. However, when he saw the shape of this butterfly, Ding Meng immediately thought of the Lord's mark on his forehead. The two were exactly the same. Could there be some special connection between the two? According to the Dragon King's telepathic message, the butterfly's name was the Holy Butterfly. The Holy Butterfly came from the sanctum. Its predecessor was the Big Bang singularity. After the explosion, it became the highest law of the universe. The Holy Butterfly wandered aimlessly in the universe. It moved at an unimaginable speed. From time to time, it would flash and cross an extremely long distance. It was as if it could appear in any corner of the universe at will. The Holy Butterfly was not interested in most things in the universe. It seemed to only love every life form that was born. Ding Meng also saw that the Holy Butterfly stopped at a primitive planet during one of its travels. It lodged in the body of an algae organism. However, the life of the algae organism was very short. It died not long after, and the Holy Butterfly left alone. After that, the Holy Butterfly wandered around and lodged in all kinds of life forms. These life forms were all cellular organisms. Their lives were very short. As they died, the Holy Butterfly continued to lodge and leave. The Holy Butterfly seemed to be looking for a perfect host to merge with. The Holy Butterfly's search for a host took 11 billion years. During this time, the universe kept expanding. Life forms also kept evolving and mutating. Prokaryotic organisms, eukaryotic organisms, marine organisms, fish, birds, reptiles, amphibians. Later on, Ding Meng found that the Holy Butterfly had not only merged with carbon-based life forms, but also energy life forms, electromagnetic life forms, tidal life forms, consciousness life forms, and many other life forms that Ding Meng could not name or even imagine. These events had some rules and characteristics. First, most life forms could not sense the existence of the Holy Butterfly. Second, the Holy Butterfly could merge with anyone it wanted. It would not violate the will of the life form, nor would it cause any harm. Third, once the host died, the Holy Butterfly would automatically leave. No one could force it to stay. Finally, there was a very terrifying point. In a long river of time, the Saint Butterfly had chosen hundreds of millions of hosts. These hosts had all died due to various reasons, but their memories were not lost, as they were all preserved by the Saint Butterfly. And these memories were not completely useless, because the more memories one had, the more information one could gather. Thus, The Saint Butterfly carried with it a large amount of complex and profound knowledge. No matter which intelligent creature obtained it, they would be able to make good use of it and become stronger, especially when it came to cultivation. As the holy butterfly continued to merge and separate, the universe gave birth to one powerhouse after another. Generations of more powerful intelligent life forms appeared, writing magnificent chapters after magnificent chapters. However, the holy butterfly was still traveling and searching. It seemed to be looking for the most suitable host. This host code name was the Chosen One. In the end, it found a perfect host. This was an AIG planet. His name was Heaven Ascending King. Not only did Ling Tian perfectly merge with the holy butterfly, but Ling Tian was also one of the few life forms that could sense the holy butterfly's true existence. Heaven Ascending King was very ambitious. Not only did he want to become the top king of the universe, but he also pursued eternal life. This was because he wanted to control the holy butterfly forever and become the creator of the universe. Everything in this world would be created according to his will. Unfortunately, his wisdom and bravery were trapped. In the end, he was buried by his own arrogance, complacency, and greed for beauty. The worst thing was that Queen Ming Yin also learned about the existence of the holy butterfly, which was why there was the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple was the singularity of this universe. Whoever found the Holy Temple would be able to control the holy butterfly. If one truly merged with the holy butterfly, they would definitely be invincible among invincibles. They would have everything they could think of, even if they could not think of. The Dragon King suddenly explained, I was chosen as the guardian of the Holy Temple hundreds of thousands of years ago. I also received the decree of the Holy Temple more than 40 years ago. Many chosen ones were born at the same time. The Holy Temple did not say who they were, but it revealed an important piece of information. This chosen one was a human. He could eventually enter the Holy Temple and resolve all crises. Combining all kinds of information, this chosen one should be you, Ding Meng. Seeing and hearing this, Ding Meng roughly understood. The so-called crisis was Queen Ming Yin and Demon Lord Xiaoyu. They were so strong that even the holy butterfly seemed to be afraid of them. Why was I chosen as the chosen one? Ding Meng could not help but ask. The Dragon King shook his head. I don't know. The will of the Creator is not something I can guess. All right. Ding Meng sighed helplessly. Even if I came to the Holy Temple, it seems that I can't do anything. It's difficult to even move forward now. The Dragon King said, this real space-time tunnel allows you to return to the past. It doesn't allow you to change the past, but it allows you to make a new choice. Choice is always more important than change. Ding Meng could not understand this. The Dragon King explained, I don't mind telling you that Ming Yin and Xiaoyu are also in this tunnel. They also have to go back to the past and make a choice. The end of the tunnel is where the real singularity is. It depends on who can reach it first. I personally prefer you to be able to fuse with the singularity. If you must ask why, I can only say that I don't want this universe to become a dark world or a land of demons. As soon as the Dragon King finished speaking, the surrounding environment changed again. Ding Meng had traveled to another space-time. What appeared in front of him was a huge helipad with a Songqing spaceship parked on it. Just by looking at the situation, one wouldn't be able to see anything out of the ordinary. However, under the escalator connecting the spaceship to the cabin, there was a short and pretty girl in sportswear looking around. Ding Meng recognized this person. She was the female doctor who worked for the leader of the Hidden Front, Lin Fei, on planet number 5. Ding Meng suddenly realized that this place was the Hidden Front space station. At this time, he should have flown to planet number 5. He left the doctor and Guan Lin in the space station. In the end, they were all killed. This was Ding Meng's greatest regret. Thinking of this, Ding Meng strode forward. Doctor, what are you doing? The doctor was shocked. So it's you, Ding Meng. Why didn't you go to planet number 5? Ding Meng really wanted to say that if he really went there, both the doctor and Miss Guan would die here. However, now is not the time to explain. Ding Meng reached out and pulled her over. Doctor, If you want to escape on this Songqing spaceship, I don't think you need to. Why? The doctor was a little nervous. Ding Meng sighed. There are some things that you can't escape from. The more you want to escape, the more you have to face them. As he said this, Ding Meng had already pulled her into the space station's command center. In the empty hall, General Gong Ping, dressed as an instructor, was standing in front of the big screen. Ding Meng secretly checked the situation in his body. He was still at the warlord level at this stage. He was about the same level as Gong Ping. However, when Gong Ping turned around, there was another person in his hand. It was Guanlin, her hair disheveled and her body covered in blood. You didn't go to planet number 5. You still have the guts to come back? Gong Ping sneered. Ding Meng couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with him. Let Miss Guan go. Gong Ping said arrogantly. She's my woman. Do you think you can let her go just because you want to? Ding Meng took a deep breath. Stop pretending, General Gong Ping. You're the head puppet of the Hidden Front. Gong Ping was a little surprised. He didn't expect Ding Meng to know about his multiple identities. Since you like Miss Guan so much, I'll return her to you and let you two be a pair of lovebirds. Gong Ping really surprised Ding Meng. He reached out and threw the trembling Guanlin over. Ding Meng had promised to bring Guanlin back to Longlin. Even though he knew that Longlin would later become the real head of the Hidden Front, General Henning of the Demons, he still wanted to take Guanlin away without hesitation. This was because this was what he had promised, and it was Ding Meng's style to keep his promises. It was also at this moment that Ding Meng finally understood the Dragon King's explanation. Choice was always more important than change. Returning to the past was indeed not for you to change history. It was about whether you could stick to your original intentions. Watch out, the doctor beside him shouted. Ding Meng suddenly realized that Guanlin was falling straight toward him. At the same time, Gong Ping also leaped high into the air. He raised his palm and pressed down with a fierce force. Ding Meng now had two choices in front of him. One was to catch Guanlin, and the other was to face the enemy head-on. Don't even think about it. Ding Meng reached out to catch Guanlin, then quickly turned around and activated the crown shield. With a boom, a large area of the control panel was immediately reduced to ashes. The crown shield was also smashed to pieces by the palm. Ding Meng staggered a few steps back, and a large amount of blood spurted out of his mouth. He should not have been able to take this blow head-on, but Gong Ping's palm was extremely powerful, and coupled with the penetrating power of the demons, Ding Meng immediately realized that the origin energy in his body was in chaos. However, when he steadied himself, his heart sank again. This was because he found that the doctor beside him had already collapsed. The doctor lay quietly in a pool of blood. Her eyes were wide open, as if she had seen something extremely terrifying. However, there was a look of sorrow in her eyes. Before she died, she seemed to be asking, "Why did you kill a defenseless little girl like me?" Ding Meng realized that he had made the same mistake. He could withstand Gong Ping's sneak attack, but the doctor was just an ordinary origin energy warrior. How could she withstand the aftermath of the other party's palm strike? In the center of the circle formed by the three of them, a crystal that looked like a gold brick slowly appeared, emitting a strong light that made it hard for people to open their eyes. The three of them immediately sat down cross-legged and felt this great power. This was a type of crystal that surpassed the true elemental rainbow crystal. The energy it contained was turbulent and was practically endless. Ding Meng sighed. He knew what this was. This was the legendary true elemental divine crystal. He had already seen it in the telepathic message just now. The Big Bang at the beginning of the universe was released by the collapse of countless true elemental divine crystals. This small piece of divine crystal was also a gift from the guardians of the divine temple. The Dragon King could not bear to use it himself, so he left it for the future chosen ones. Ding Meng and the other two formed a circle, holding each other's hands tightly. They vaguely formed a 3-in-1 cultivation force field. However, At this moment, Ling Xingqi let out a long sigh. Ji Qinxue frowned in confusion. What's wrong? Xingqi? Ling Xingqi sighed and said, I'm afraid I'm not fated to enjoy such an expensive piece of divine crystal. Ding Ming could not help but ask, why do you say that? Ling Xingqi sighed and said, do you think I don't know what I'm capable of? Do you think I don't know what my talent is like after more than 60 years? Even if I wanted to absorb and contain this ball of energy, I'm afraid it would take me millions of years, right? Ding Ming and Ji Qinxue both remained silent. They knew that Ling Xingqi was speaking the truth. If millions of years passed, how much would Ming Yin and the others become? And what would the divine temple become? It was simply unimaginable. They could not afford to wait, and it was too late. Ling Xingqi closed her eyes and sighed. It's only today that I understand the two most important things in life. One is memory, and the other is time. These are the things that cannot be replaced, and these are the things that are worth cherishing the most. Ding Ming and Ji Qinxue listened quietly. With a thought from Ling Xingqi, the long and wide divine light blade immediately hovered between the three of them. Ding Ming, I have two things to ask of you. Ding Ming already had a bad feeling, but he still asked patiently, please speak. Ling Xingqi said, first, please accept this weapon. No matter what, you have to avenge my little sister. Please. Ding Ming remained silent, but he still used his telekinesis. The divine light blade slowly floated towards him. Then, a large amount of information flooded into his mind. This was the inheritance of the blade. Ling Xingqi sighed slightly, and a beautiful smile appeared on her face. Ding Ming, if you're able to go back in the future, please tell Xinjie that I went to outer space to cultivate. Ask him to wait for me to come back. Then, we will hold a grand wedding. I know his temper. He will definitely wait for me. Ding Ming was about to speak when he felt a whirlpool in his palm. He looked down and saw that Ling Xingqi had activated the diamond star fusing art. The surging divine light essence was moving in the opposite direction. She clearly wanted to transfer all her energy to him. You are crazy, Ding Ming exclaimed. You will die if you do this. Ling Xingqi immediately interrupted him and smiled gently. The divine light martial artists worship holiness and beauty. I also know that you, Ding Ming, do not have the habit of giving up on your companions. However, in times of crisis, you can only make sacrifices to achieve the greater good. Ding Ming, only you can defeat such a terrifying group of enemies. If you can really win, then my sacrifice is nothing. Don't you think so? Ding Ming. Ding Ming did not answer because he could feel Ling Xingqi's determination and willpower. At this moment, a huge amount of essence was being poured into his body. A large amount of martial arts and secret techniques were being transmitted to him. Even those precious memories and Princess Mao Xing's inheritance were all pouring into his brain. Ling Xingqi's body gradually turned into a human-shaped light. Then, the human-shaped light slowly disappeared and dimmed. Ling Xingqi had completely merged with Ding Ming. This force fusion method was the same as what Julie and the Fifth Lord had done before. From the perspective of energy, the increase was not huge. However, the ability to absorb and cultivate had increased exponentially. It could be said that this was the combination of the strengths of several great families. It could also be said that this was the greatest sacrifice for the final victory. Feeling Ling Xingqi's aura dissipating bit by bit, Ding Ming's eyes turned red. He clenched his teeth and said, Ling Xingqi, you're the martial artist that I, Ding Ming, have admired for my entire life. You are a true martial artist. Ji Qinxue's eyes also overflowed with sparkling tears. Xingqi, we are both Mao Xing's inheritors and Divine Light's martial artists. The time spent with you is really too short. I really hope that there will be an afterlife. We will definitely meet again in our next life. She also secretly pressed down on Ding Ming's palm. She slowly activated the diamond star fusing art and transmitted all of her energy to Ding Ming. Qinxue, you are, Ding Ming exclaimed again. Ji Qinxue's tears also kept falling. However, at this moment, she revealed the purest and most beautiful smile. Ding Ming, all of my hopes are placed on you. As your partner, I know that I am weak. However, I still hope that I can do whatever I can to help you. Please don't reject me. Her energy, techniques, martial arts, life, and memories were all transmitted into Ding Meng's body. The three of them were all martial artists of divine light. Therefore, the fusion process was very fast. Soon, Ji Qinshue's beautiful figure also turned into a human-shaped light. However, her voice was still there. Her tone was very emotional. Ding Meng, you know that I am from the Norse Empire. I have always been against polygamy. Although I have not become your legal wife in name, in my heart, I have long treated you as my only husband. I will leave everything to you. Her voice became softer and softer. Her aura also became weaker and weaker. Finally, she dissipated in the illusion of the holy palace and became one with Ding Meng. Ding Meng sat in a daze. He could not speak because the last bit of information that Ji Qinshui transmitted to him was actually the private photos that she had always treasured and sealed in the divine light necklace. Every frown, every smile, every glance was deeply imprinted in Ding Meng's mind in the form of a portrait. This meant to remind Ding Meng not to forget her. Some feelings did not require vows of eternal love. There was no need to say those 3 words. Don't forget me was already the most precious love promise. At this moment, only Ding Meng was left sitting there alone in the divine light square. They had said that they would leave together, but in the end, he was still the only one left. If there was anything that accompanied him, it would be the divine light saber that stood proudly in front of him and the divine light necklace that floated in the air. The dazzling golden light and exquisite design represented the hope and deep feelings that the two masters had for Ding Meng. However, this time, Ding Meng did not feel sad, nor did he feel dejected. This was because he knew that he was no longer Ding Meng. He was the embodiment of this group of people. He was everyone's hopes and dreams, as well as everyone's will and determination. With a gentle wave of his hand, the divine light necklace immediately hung around his neck. The saber also hung horizontally in front of his chest. At this moment, he did not care about the torrential energy of the true Yuan godly crystal. He suddenly opened his eyes, and the golden light of the divine light crystal stabbed into his eyes like a blade. The lonely entropy armor immediately turned golden, and he turned into a streak of golden light. The only thing that did not change was the Sovereign King's imprint on his forehead. However, at the same time that it received the baptism of the true Yuan godly crystal, the golden imprint actually flapped its wings vividly, as if it was a sign that it had broken out of its cocoon and become a butterfly that had been reborn. Chapter 1098. The sacred divine light square was completely silent. All the crystal pillars were flickering with the divine light, completely matching the frequency of the flickering on Ding Meng's body. Meanwhile, the flowing light that was Ding Meng was constantly changing its form, as if it was a human-shaped spiritual body. If one observed carefully, they would discover that these human figures were the important people and events in Ding Meng's memory. Everything that had happened in the past was reincarnated in the divine light temple. The little girl Jiang Li's righteous act was the beginning of the story. She risked her life to steal rice for a group of homeless children in a world of ice and snow. That was kindness. The little girl's kindness awakened the numb protector. This middle-aged man, who had been doing nothing for half his life, did one last thing that shone brightly in his life. That was awakening. Ding Meng had been wandering all the way. He followed Ding Wenhe and met big brother Zhongming. Thus, the hero's knife had a 14th generation successor. In those years of wandering, Uncle Niu, who had sunk into depravity for most of his life, used his life to open up a path of escape for him and Zhongming. Big brother Zhongming brought Aunt Xiao to the Tian family's manor. He was fearless in the face of all the nobles and royalty. He pulled out his knife to seek justice for the peasant girl. Although he unfortunately died in the end, big brother Zhongming represented justice. After that, Yu Xingyang went to Celestial Heaven's Gate to fulfill the promise of 20 years. Faced with by Ping Hai and the others, Yu Xingyang did not hesitate to use the extraterritorial Devil Kingdom's secret technique. In the end, he turned into ashes and dissipated in the wind. However, Mr. Yu represented protection. Time passed mercilessly, but the flowing light was still changing. The flowing light seemed to have turned into another person. It was a short, cowardly laborer with a mane all over his body. He was covered in wounds and bloodstains. Even if he was stepped on, he would never lower his head. From the beginning to the end, he had never betrayed Ding Meng. However, his figure would forever remain in Ding Meng's heart. Little 4 represented trust. The stream of light changed again, and Salmon's image also appeared in the Divine Light Square. This origin ability, user who originally had a bright future, had actually abandoned his studies and was willing to become a mercenary to help the refugees. Fighting for those who can't fight proved the belief of a true origin ability user. Then countless human figures appeared. Xiao Shanzi, A Qiao, Du Mo, Old Yu, Lan Bing, Dai Xinjia, Little Rascal, Xiao AI, Meng Yin, Shuyan, Xiaobai, Guzi, Yitzi by Xing Fei, Wen Yang, Han Yin, Brother Howren, Princess, King. In the end, Jun Ling's heroic sacrifice, Ling Xingqi's and Ji Qinchua's sacrifice finally came to an end. It was only at this time that Ding Meng seemed to realize something. What he had experienced along the way weren't these noble and great qualities. Kindness, awakening, sustenance, justice, protection, trust, faith, perseverance, salvation, sacrifice, fulfillment, righteousness. These were the true definitions of the divine light martial artists. These were the rules of the Mao Xing civilization. These were the things that accompanied Ding Meng throughout his life. These were the reasons why the Chosen One was chosen. Time continued to pass, but 1,000 years had passed in this dream. The light of the crystal pillars in the square gradually weakened, and the true origin divine crystal gradually dimmed and disappeared. Ding Meng slowly returned to his true form. In the next second, Ding Meng waved his hand again. The divine light square completely disappeared, and the space-time tunnel of the Holy Palace appeared in front of him again. Ding Meng slowly raised his head. His eyes revealed a kind of determination. He suddenly felt that he was very lucky because he had experienced so many wonderful things in his life. He had been protected, supported, and looked forward to by so many good people. This was an indescribably wonderful feeling. He strode forward. He felt a kind of confidence that he had never felt before. It was confidence in the past and also confidence in the future. Friends, I will not let you down. Ding Meng strode forward. The end of the tunnel seemed to be a halo-like void, but he did not hesitate to step in. With a swoosh, his vision changed again. What appeared in front of him was the vast and boundless dark space. A long, glowing staircase reached into the depths of the universe. The staircase was so long and grand that it seemed like a grand staircase to heaven hanging in the void. When he raised his head again, the top of the staircase seemed to be a golden speck of light. However, Ding Meng had absorbed the true origin divine crystal, so his eyesight was terrifying. He could tell with a single glance that it was the shape of a butterfly. This was the legendary sacred butterfly oddity. However, there were still people on the stairs. On the 10th step, Mo Yin stood. On the 30th step, Lung Tong stood. On the 60th step, the 3 demon generals of the Mo Sky Empire stood. On the 80th step, Hong Yu stood. And on the 120th step, Ming Yin and Xie Yu stood proudly. In the void around the stairway to heaven, there were tens of thousands of Night Yuan cultivators and all kinds of demon race spirits floating in the air. They were so densely packed that they seemed to blot out the sun, causing the originally majestic and magnificent stairway to heaven to look like a world of demons and devils. Seeing this, everyone was trying their best to walk up. However, the staircase to heaven was probably not easy to climb. Seeing how Mo Yin lowered her head in deep thought, it should be clear that there was a lot to learn about this staircase. Of course, Ding Ming's sudden appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Perhaps no one had expected that this low-level human would actually be able to enter the final staircase to heaven. Mo Yin was extremely surprised. What a pleasant surprise. You actually came. Ding Ming's expression did not change. You thought I was dead, right? Mo Yin smiled. It's already been 1,000 years. I indeed thought you and the steward had already died. 1,000 years had passed. Ding Ming thought to himself that the power of the divine temple was so great. Who knew how many centuries had passed in the human world? This time would only multiply and not shrink. It was truly a dream. Only he would know. While in deep thought, Ding Ming took the first step up the staircase. At this moment, the Night Luan cultivators and various demons all moved, all of them in a defensive posture. Up above, Hong Yu waved her hand, indicating for everyone to stay put. Hong Yu turned to look at Ming Yin. Ming Yin said indifferently, "It's fine. The staircase to heaven has already been found. He's no longer of any use. Furthermore, the staircase to heaven isn't something that can be climbed just because you want to. Let's continue." Although she said this, Ding Ming's boots had already stepped onto the first step. Mo Yan's expression immediately changed. Without the strength of a martial saint, it was difficult to even lift one's feet. In 100 years, even she had only reached the 10th step. Now, Ding Ming had easily reached the first step. Could it be that Ding Ming had encountered a fortuitous encounter in the past 100 years? However, Ding Ming did not feel much. This glowing staircase was actually the energy of the true essence, divine crystal. When he took the first step, his mind was only slightly affected. Everything else was completely fine. The expressions of the three Night Luan cultivators all changed. They turned to look at Queen Ming Yin. Ming Yin was still wearing her veil. She also seemed to find it strange. Ding Ming shouldn't have been so successful. Unexpectedly, Ding Ming laughed in a relaxed manner. "Now I know why you guys are walking so slowly." Mo Yin frowned. "Why?" Ding Ming said seriously. "Because you have dirt in your hearts. Your hearts are not righteous and your hearts are not sincere. Naturally, you won't be able to go far. You were able to reach these steps purely because of your strength. The higher you go, the harder it is to take another step. Am I right?" No one answered him, but everyone's expression had already admitted that his judgment was undoubtedly accurate. Mo Yan's mind was filled with all kinds of top-notch men serving her. That feeling was so good that she wanted to die. Moreover, it was not an illusion. It was a real pleasure. No matter how dazzling the rays were, no matter how imposing the mirror image was, Ding Ming still raised his right hand and walked unhurriedly towards Mo Yin until he was in front of her. Then, he slapped the crown on her head. From a moment he stepped onto the path of martial artists until today, the diamond star fusing art had finally evolved into the strongest martial skill. Little rascal wasn't lying back then. As long as you were strong enough, you could fuse with the heavens, earth, and the world. Not to mention, Mo Yin was a high-level martial saint. In front of absolute strength, she was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Bang! The exquisite crown turned into a cloud of pink dust. Mo Yan's pupils contracted. She could already smell the scent of death, but she couldn't move at all. This was because Ding Ming's entire body was emitting a boundless gravitational force. "Kneel," Ding Ming said indifferently. Then, he casually slapped Mo Yin on the top of her head. With another bang, Mo Yin really knelt down. Moreover, she knelt down very thoroughly. This was because everything below her knees had turned into dust. This light slap from the head was able to shatter her entire calf. What kind of abnormal strength was this? In the void, countless Night Phoenix witches covered their mouths as they watched this scene in horror. Countless Devil Sky demons were also greatly shaken. They all raised their heads and screamed. Mo Yin raised her head in horror. "You? How did you become like this?" Ding Ming coldly stared at her. because you forced me into this state. Bang, 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 bang. Several consecutive explosions rang out. Mo Yan's thighs, abdomen, chest, arms, shoulders, and neck all turned into clouds of pink dust. In the end, only her head was left. It was sucked under Ding Meng's palm. This was originally a peerless face, but Ding Meng never showed mercy to his enemies. With a slight push of his palm, Mo Yan's head immediately turned to dust. All that was left on the spacious staircase was a cloud of pink dust. Suddenly, a formless, transparent stream of air emerged from the pink dust. It slithered into the depths of the void like a venomous snake. It was so fast that it caught everyone off guard. Ding Meng's expression sank. "You still want to run?" He suddenly turned around and waved his hand towards the depths of the void. This venomous snake that had already slithered several light years away was forcefully sucked back into his palm. Holding this stream of air, Ding Meng's eyes were filled with murderous intent. "You think I'll let you go after killing my family? You can't become a slave even if you want to." He exerted more force in his palm. The transparent stream of air hissed as if it was begging for mercy. Ding Meng's palm suddenly glowed with white light. The countless Night Yuan people and demons all saw it clearly. The transparent stream of air also turned white. The venomous snake constantly struggled and shrank. It was clearly a spiritual body that was being forcefully squeezed back into its original form, a worm. Mo Yan's figure could be vaguely seen inside the worm. She seemed to be crying and wailing. However, Ding Meng didn't hold back. With a sharp rip, the white worm turned into a wisp of smoke and dissipated into the air. The spiritual body of the Night Yuan Empire's vanguard general was crushed to death just like that. The tens of thousands of demonesses and demons all watched in shock. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. "Little sister, rest in peace." "Xingqi, I've already completed your task," Ding Meng said in his heart. When he raised his head again, Lung, Tong, Hong Yu, and the three demon generals all had cold expressions. It was very obvious that everyone had underestimated Ding Meng's strength. "You seem to have a part in killing the Black Dragon King's true body as well," Ding Meng said coldly. This was naturally directed at General Lung Tong. She couldn't be bothered to waste her breath. Her phoenix eyes immediately glowed with white light and turned completely white. She was much stronger than Mo Yan. However, judging from how Ding Meng had killed Mo Yan, there was no way she could fight to the death with Ding Meng. As a result, she directly began to condense her ultimate move. Why would Ding Meng waste his time if she didn't waste it? Without saying anything else, his figure flashed. His entire body flew up at an angle, stunning the sacred hall once more. This was because he had crossed 20 steps. For a Night Yuan martial artist, a general like Mo Yan would need to walk for 1,000 years to cross the 10th step. However, Ding Meng had done it in the blink of an eye. At this point, no one dared to underestimate this human brat anymore. As he flew, Ding Meng's figure spread out like a swallow. His entire arm transformed into a Qilin arm. At the same time, he roared, "One move is enough to deal with you." Whoosh! The Ding-style hand blade arrived in the blink of an eye. It tore through the void and cut through space, whistling through the air with an unparalleled momentum. Strictly speaking, the Ding-style hand blade was something Uncle Neo had taught Ding Meng. At the time, this move wasn't complete. Later on, after countless years of battle, Ding Meng continued to improve and gradually become more proficient in it. This blade originated from those grassroots martial artists. It was pure, direct, and unstoppable. Now, this blade had reached the peak of perfection, standing at the peak of the universe. Who could avoid its edge? This was the glory of a grassroots martial artist. Rip! Lung Tong suddenly realized that Ding Meng's body had been neatly split into two halves. One half was rising while the other was falling. She really couldn't understand why this was happening. Just because she didn't understand didn't mean that others couldn't see it. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would never have believed that the Mao Xing country had such an abnormal expert.